Chapter 229. The sky was already bright. Near the camp, the guards and black silver men were all anxiously staring into the depths of the forest. "They're out, they're out!" Zhou Fu and Xingang walked out one after another. Under everyone's astonished gaze, Zhou Fu bowed slightly to Xingang and said, "Master, I'll take my men back first." Xingang nodded and said coldly, "Okay, after we go back, I'll appoint you as the deputy master of the gang, in charge of the finances." "Thank you, master. I won't let you down." After that, Zhou Fu turned to the dumbfounded guards and ordered, "Pack up and set off." The guards reacted and hurried to the camp. Xingang also ordered, "Let's go." Before he finished, his figure disappeared. 8 days later, Zhou Fu returned to Ning, an east city. Jin Peng, Huang Feng and the head of the guards, Duan Qing, were already waiting at Zhou Fu's house. Seeing the three of them, Zhou Fu asked directly, "How's it going?" Huang Feng said, "Master, the power of the mid-level forces is beyond our expectations. Now there are only 8 forces in our hands. As for the other 14, I'm incompetent." 8 forces? Zhou Fu frowned. It had been almost 3 months since he returned to Heiyang City, but there was only so little progress. His face darkened. He looked at Huang Feng and asked, "Give me a reason." A heavy pressure instantly pressed down on the 3 of them. Plop! Huang Feng and the other 2 trembled and knelt on the ground subconsciously. They were shocked. Especially Duan Qing. He was now at the peak of the first realm of blood changing, and he broke through by himself without the help of elixirs like the blood-fusing pill. Even so, he was still forced to kneel by Zhou Fu's gaze. What was his master's cultivation level? Zhou Fu looked at the 3 of them indifferently. A golden light flashed in his eyes. My lord." Huang Feng was trembling all over. In just 10 seconds, his back was already soaked in cold sweat. With a thought, Zhou Fu retracted his aura. He had secretly learned this technique from monk Fang Guan and perfected it during his battle with Xingang. He wasn't surprised that Huang Feng and Jin Peng knelt down, but Zhou Fu was stunned by Duan Cheng's reaction. Seeing Duan Cheng's reaction, Zhou Fu thought for a moment and understood. This kind of practice should be circulated among those forces of a certain scale. Wild cultivators would not receive such treatment unless they had someone to guide them, or they comprehended it on their own, or like Zhou Fu, they secretly learned and perfected it on their own. "Speak." Huang Feng and the others felt as if they had been pardoned. He hurriedly told them the whole story. On the night that Zhou Fu left, Jin Peng had started his plan. After a lightning-fast operation, he had subdued 5 families. However, when Jin Peng and the others made their move again, they had already been noticed and suffered a strong counterattack. Following that, those people frantically investigated the whereabouts of Jin Peng and the others. On the other hand, Jin Peng and the others were setting up suspicions while secretly launching sneak attack. In this way they had subdued 3 more families. However, they were only in a hurry to empty the other party's warehouse, but they were unable to subdue them. After this incident, Ning in East City was in a state of panic, and all the families closed their doors tightly. Now that things had developed to this point, the plan of Jin Peng and the others had already failed. Moreover, those people from the major forces had also noticed this big change. After investigating, they were shocked to find that the situation in the city had changed secretly. A force had quietly seized a small part of the industry. How could this be? For a time, Jin Peng and the others were jointly ostracized by all the other forces. When Zhou Fu returned, the figures of Jin Peng and the others were already exposed to everyone. Even Zhou Fu, who was behind Jin Peng, was revealed. "You guys have really given me a big surprise." Zhou Fu felt very speechless. However, after thinking about it, it made sense. After all, Huang Feng and the others did not have a killing move in their hands, and those mid-level forces were not useless. Moreover, the major forces in the city were not blind. They might not care at the time, but when they turned their heads to look, the power they could display was still very strong. Sir, we have sinned. Huang Feng and the others lowered their heads, waiting for Zhou Fu's punishment. Zhou Fu sighed and said, "Okay, you guys can get up." The three people raised their heads in surprise and looked at Zhou Fu. For a moment, no one dared to move. "Get up!" "Yes." The three people stood up. Zhou Fu looked at the three people, who were like three frightened quails, and was so angry that he laughed. "Okay, the three of you don't have to be like this. Forget about those mid-level forces that have not been subdued. Organize the information of those major forces and send it to me. Also, prepare the manpower. In 2 days, I will bring people to see those people." "Yes." Hearing that Zhou Fu was coming out to take charge of the situation, the three people immediately felt relieved. Zhou Fu looked at Duancheng and asked, "There is a problem in the city. What about the Black Mountain stronghold?" Duancheng's expression froze and he stammered, "Sir, at the beginning, it was fine. We were suppressing the Black Mountain stronghold, but then a few experts appeared. We couldn't beat them, and 3 of our blood transformation realm cultivators were killed. I saw that the situation couldn't be reversed, so I brought people back." Another piece of bad news. Zhou Fu took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. He nodded and said, "Okay, you guys can leave." The three people looked at each other and bowed at the same time. "Yes, we will leave." After the three people left, Zhou Fu didn't even have time to catch his breath before a frivolous voice echoed in the room. "Oh, it seems like you're doing well." When Zhou Fu heard this voice, he immediately stood up. Third young master. The person who came was Xing Feng. He had a smile on his face as he looked at Zhou Fu and praised, "You have good means. I didn't think that the storm in Ning, an east city, was caused by you. Not bad, not bad. Third young master is too kind." Zhou Fu walked to Xing Feng's side and sat down. Xing Feng smiled and shook his head. "You have a lot of empty etiquette." Although he said this, he still approved of Zhou Fu's actions. It was the kind of thing that one could not say or not care, but the other could not care. In his eyes, Zhou Fu was a person with scheming, means, strength, and talent. He was just a bit unlucky and fell into the schemes of several forces before he grew up. Otherwise, he would have been a big figure in the future. But now it was up to fate. Xing Feng asked, "Have you seen that monk?" Zhou Fu once again stood up and saluted. "This subordinate has already met Master Fang Guan and received his guidance. I have also achieved a breakthrough in my great son Tru Qi. This subordinate thanks third young master." In any case, even if Xing Feng helped Zhou Fu for some purpose, Zhou Fu did receive a favor from the other party. Therefore, he still had to thank him. As for the rest, it depended on his own ability. Xing Feng laughed. "That monk owed me a favor. Later, I asked him to do something. If it wasn't something today, it was something that he was not feeling well the next day. In short, he avoided all kinds of things. Some time ago, I persuaded him in every way possible and he accepted the matter of guiding your cultivation. He understood some of my grievances. By the way, you met Xingang on the way back, right? How was it?" Zhou Fu nodded and said, "Yes, I met gang leader Xing on the way back. He brought people to kill me, but at that time, my cultivation had already made a breakthrough. Gang leader saw that he couldn't take me down, so the matter was left unsettled." Xing Feng smiled and said, "How do you feel?" Regarding this question, Zhou Fu pondered for a moment and then said, "Gang leader Xing's extreme yang burning sky skill is very domineering. My Vajra battle body can't withstand it. It was the spring wind and rain body nourishing skill that third young master gave me that allowed me to heal quickly. That's why I was in a stalemate with gang leader." Xing Feng waved his hand. "Kid, it's a little boring to talk like this. Although I gave you the skill, if you didn't have the talent and didn't fully understand the skill of the body refining hall, you would have ended up dead." He changed the topic and asked, "Since Xing Feng can't do anything to you, didn't he say anything else?" Yes, gang leader Xing said that he would promote me to deputy gang leader in 2 days to be in charge of the gang's finances. Deputy gang leader? Finances? He's pouting. Xing Feng immediately sat up straight and narrowed his eyes as he muttered these 2 words. After a while, he nodded. That's right. Deputy gang leader is good too. Now that Xing Gang can't kill you, it means that Shi Long can't be your opponent either. Congratulations, kid. You've been in the gang for less than a year and the position of gang leader has already fallen into your pocket. Zhou Fu cupped his hands and said, It's all thanks to third young master's nurturing. Ha 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 ha. What a good nurturing. Xing Feng looked up to the sky and laughed. After a while, he stopped laughing and said, All right, you better remember this. Zhou Fu said, I will definitely not forget third young master's kindness. Not bad, you're really not bad. Whether it's the way you do things or the way you speak, you make people feel comfortable. Xing Feng stood up and said, I came to see you. Since I've seen you, I'll leave. Cultivate well. After all, the large competition will be held in the future. This subordinate understands. A gust of wind blew past and Xing Feng's figure had already disappeared. Zhou Fu stood up and looked out the door. I can see your movements clearly now. The next day, the order to appoint Zhou Fu as the deputy gang leader came down. For a moment, the entire Ning and East City was shaken. The name Zhou Fu was circulated among all the upper echelons of the city. He also took 2 steps towards the core of Ning and East City from the darkness, or rather, from the corner. Moreover, those forces that wanted to make a move against Zhou Fu also didn't make a move for a while. The chaotic situation in the East City of Ning and instantly quieted down, but under the surface, undercurrents were surging. 5 days later, a black-clothed man appeared in Zhou Fu's study. Deputy Gang Leader Zhou, this is the gang leader's promise on that day. The black-silver man took out an envelope and pushed it with one hand. It floated towards Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu smiled and reached out to receive the envelope. Streaks of golden electricity flowed across the surface of the letter. He lowered his head and opened it while saying, If there is any damage to the things inside, I will make sure you don't dare to be a human in your next life. The black-clothed man trembled and took 2 steps back. His eyes behind the mask revealed a look of fear. I hope Deputy Gang Leader Zhou won't blame me. This subordinate had no choice. Zhou Fu didn't even raise his head and waved his hand. After the black-clothed man saw the gesture, he cupped his hands and bowed. He turned around and walked out of the room. Using his movement technique, he quickly disappeared. Zhou Fu looked at the letter in his hand. It was the Blood Yang Pills formula. With this, he could replenish a large amount of qi and blood and then convert it into inner strength. The improved qi concentration pill can no longer satisfy me. This is only the blood transfusion realm. Zhou Fu sighed. After the blood transfusion realm, there was exuvia. There were a total of 9 levels of exuvia. What should he use to speed up his cultivation? When he thought of this problem, Zhou Fu felt a headache coming on. On the way back, when he was traveling with Fang Guan, Zhou Fu received Fang Guan's advice and had a deeper understanding of the Great Sun True Qi. As a result, Zhou Fu, who was at the peak of the 3rd level of the bone forging realm, naturally broke through to the 6th level of the Great Sun True Qi. Not only did the quality of his inner strength increase by a lot, even the strength of Zhou Fu's body was strengthened. And his cultivation had reached the blood transfusion realm. This was also the reason why he was able to fight Xing Gang back and forth. If he didn't break through, he would probably be a punching bag under Xing Gang's hands. The blood transfusion realm was different from the previous realms. At this level, the cultivator needed to control the inner strength to pierce the bone marrow, condense the blood, and let the blood nourish the body to achieve an all-round improvement. For ordinary people, this was a slow and meticulous work realm. It required a huge amount of qi, blood, and inner strength consumption to increase the realm. Now that I have the Blood Yang Pill and the assistance of the Tri-Wheel Origin Transformation Divine Art, I can quickly catch up to this realm. Time. What I lack is time. Zhou Fu sighed. It was already winter. At the beginning of spring, which was 4 months later, the sex competition would begin. And he needed to break through to the Exuvia realm, or even higher within these 4 months. Only then would he be able to deal with the upcoming matters. 4 months to break through a realm. Zhou Fu muttered to himself. He turned his head and looked towards the south. Demon Zhang Yao's figure appeared in front of his eyes. Demon. Only by killing the demon, under the nourishment of that cool energy, and with the help of the blood yang pill, could he achieve this goal. Moreover, he might even be able to reach a higher level. Young master, not only that, the secret technique that Zhou Fu's young master, Shang Yuan, taught Zhou Fu before he left could also increase his strength. Back then, he was afraid that it would consume too much energy, so he only used it once. Now that he had the blood yang pill, he could use it without worry. A series of thoughts appeared in his mind. After thinking for a while, Zhou Fu's head felt like it was about to explode. He activated the technique and suppressed the annoyance in his heart. He sighed and said, "Even the production team's donkey shouldn't rush me like this." Yes, Zhou Fu was in too much of a hurry. If he increased his strength too slowly, he would be controlled by Xing Gang and Xing Feng. If he increased his strength too quickly, he would be controlled by the person behind the scenes who led him on the path of the body refining hall. Therefore, he could only increase his strength at a speed that was beyond the knowledge of those people. Although he might not be able to compete with them, he would at least be able to perish together with them. In other words, if they wanted to take him down, they would have to pay a price that the other party didn't want to pay. Only by doing this would Zhou Fu have the qualifications to live. Only then would he have the hope of turning the situation around. 10 days flatten the city. Chapter 230. As the sun rose, the shops on both sides of the street opened their doors one by one. Suddenly, a large group of people walked onto the street. These people were dressed in the same uniform and had unsheathed sharp swords in their hands. Some of them even had shields. As they walked with great fanfare, the shops that had just opened were so frightened that they hurriedly closed their doors. After these people appeared, the entire street quickly became empty. However, behind the cracks of the doors and windows, many pairs of eyes were staring at them. Ning and East City Wei family. The Wei family controlled all the grain transactions in Ning and East City. At the same time, they were also one of the 12 most powerful families in Ning and East City. Among the 12 families, other than the giant whale of the Xing family and the Red Sea gang of the Zhu family, Zhou Fu chose the Wei family, which controlled the grain. The Wei residence's doors were tightly shut. A white gold fist howled out. With a boom, the entire gate of the Wei estate collapsed with a loud rumble. "Charge in!" Duan Qing roared. He led the charge and was the first to charge into the Wei residence. Hearing the miserable screams coming from inside, Zhou Fu sighed in his heart. He suppressed the unbearable guilt in his heart and his eyes slowly turned cold. With Zhou Fu holding the line, Duan Qing and the others fought their way to the Wei clan's meeting hall like a hot knife through butter. "Bastard!" A loud voice resounded throughout the Wei residence. 2 glowing figures rushed into the sky from the Wei residence's backyard. An earthy yellow palm print and a red blade slashed toward Duan Qing. "Break!" Zhou Fu punched out. With a loud boom, he shattered the 2 attacks in midair. Then, his figure flashed and left 2 afterimages in the air. "Not good!" The 2 people in midair widened their eyes. After seeing their combined attack shattered, they were shocked. Then, they saw Zhou Fu's figure rushing toward them. In a panic, the 2 of them gathered all the inner strength in their bodies and attacked Zhou Fu. "Too weak." Zhou Fu sighed. He stretched out his hands and crushed their attacks in front of their frightened eyes. Then, he slapped them on their chest. Bang bang! 2 black shadows smashed onto the ground, and the bricks and stones on the ground immediately shattered. At this point, the Wei clan's guards gave up resisting and fled while screaming. There were still many people standing in front of the Wei clan's main hall. They were all looking at Zhou Fu with resentful gazes. There were also a few old men whose lips were beginning to turn green. They looked like they would die at any moment. It wasn't that the Wei clan didn't want to fight back. The two people that Zhou Fu had slapped to the ground were the Wei clan's strongest fighters. They were two veteran third blood transformation cultivators. As for the other blood transformation experts of the first and second realms, the Wei clan still had quite a few. However, given the current situation, there was no need for them to jump out and resist. Their strongest combat power had been crippled by the two of them. If they went up, they would only die. Moreover, no one wanted to court death. Zhou Fu came to the front of the Wei clan. Standing at the front was an old man in embroidered clothes. He stared fiercely at Zhou Fu and roared, "Giant Whale's deputy gang leader Zhou, may I know how our Wei clan has offended you to the point that you would come knocking on our door during our Wei clan's banquet?" Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. With a wave of his hand, several beams of platinum light shot out. A few screams rang out from the crowd of the Wei clan. Then, tongues of fire shot out, scaring the surrounding people into dodging to the sides. "Before I have the intention to kill, it's best that your people behave. I just don't want to kill more people. It's not that I don't dare to do it." Zhou Fu continued to walk forward. The Wei clan members standing in front of him parted in fear. He walked into the main hall and sat down on the main seat. Then, he said to Huang Feng beside him, "It's your turn." Jin Peng bowed to Zhou Fu. Then, he took a stack of papers and walked over to the old man. "Old man Wei, take it." The old man took it. However, he didn't look at it. Instead, he looked at Huang Feng and said, "These are the harsh conditions, right? Old man Wei is wise. However, these aren't harsh conditions. After all, we will be a family in the future." Huang Feng, who had dealt with similar matters many times, answered very appropriately, which made the old man from the Wei clan so angry that his whole body trembled. Even some of the people behind the old man wanted to rush over and beat him up. "Silence!" the old man from the Wei clan bellowed when he sensed the commotion behind him. This matter concerned the survival of the Wei clan. After all, Zhou Fu was backed by the colossal Xing clan. The Wei clan was no match for them. Therefore, personal anger and honor weren't important at this time. The most important thing was to survive. The old man shook the paper in his hand and asked, "What will happen if the Wei clan doesn't sign it?" Huang Feng replied with a question, "Don't you already have an answer in your heart?" The old man wasn't satisfied with this answer. He continued to ask, "Just say it." Huang Feng's expression turned serious. The smile on his face disappeared. He looked straight into the old man's eyes and said, "We will kill the main bloodline first. Then, we will choose a branch bloodline to sign. If the branch bloodline isn't willing, we will continue to kill. What we need is a shopkeeper, an obedient shopkeeper." The old man was silent. Most of the people from the Wei clan were silent. There were a few people who stared at Huang Feng and Zhou Fu, who was sitting on the main seat, with hatred in their eyes. "We can't sign it. If we sign it, the Wei clan will be no different from dying." "Yes, we can't sign it. I have seen those conditions. They are extremely harsh. The Wei clan will really be reduced to shopkeepers. Let's fight it out with them. Although we can't afford to offend the Xing clan, the Wei clan isn't a pushover either." When these words reached Elder Wei's ears, his eyes flickered. He looked at a smiling middle-aged man beside him and asked in a respectful tone, "Sir Ho, what do you think?" The scene quietened down. Everyone looked at the middle-aged man called Sir Ho. Sir Ho smiled. It was as if the tense atmosphere in front of him and the blood that stained the ground not far away didn't exist. He first scanned the people from the Wei clan. Then, he looked at Zhou Fu and said, "Deputy gang leader Zhou, this matter of the Ho clan has nothing to do with me." When they heard Sir Ho's words, the faces of the people standing around him darkened. Despair also appeared on their faces. Elder Wei nodded. It was as if he already knew that Sir Ho would say this. Elder Wei looked up at Zhou Fu and said, "Deputy Gang Leader Zhou, I will sign this document." The surrounding people were in an uproar and started arguing. Huang Feng ignored those agitated people. Instead, he took out the pen that he had prepared. "Elder Wei, I must say that you have good taste. Come. Sit here. As long as you sign and stamp it, we will be a family in the future." "No. Please don't. Clan Elder. You can't sign it. If you sign it, our Wei clan will definitely perish." Huang Feng's expression didn't change. He waved his hand behind his back. Duan Cheng, who was standing at the side, received the message and gave a look to the guard beside him. "Kill." The blade flashed and blood splattered everywhere. The angry crowd immediately howled in grief. The thick smell of blood filled the air. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 people from the Wei clan were gone. Those who survived were still retreating in fear and pushing each other crazily. "Kill." The guard withdrew his long blade. Blood dripped down the blade. He raised his blade and slashed. "Ah! Save us!" After 2 rounds of killing, there were only about 100 people left in the Wei clan. Duan Qing roared, "Anyone who dares to talk will die." With the help of internal strength, the sound waves swept in all directions. Those miserable howls suddenly disappeared. In the room, Elder Wei stared at Huang Feng with trembling eyes and asked, "Why? Why? Didn't I agree to sign it? Why do you still want to kill?" Huang Feng smiled. "Those who were killed just now were ingrate. Today, with you here, they still dared to be so arrogant. In the future, won't they turn the world upside down? I'm doing this for the good of the Wei clan." You! Elder Wei stared at Huang Feng. He was so angry that he couldn't speak. Then, a cold light flashed in Huang Feng's eyes. He said something that almost made Elder Wei die. "Elder Wei, we haven't killed all those people just now. Next, we are going to do something big. Let me, the junior of the Huang clan, experience the means of the senior." Elder Wei's body shook violently. He was so shocked that his mouth opened wide. You mean, Elder Wei," Huang Feng reminded, "I respect you as a senior. As a junior, don't disappoint me. Moreover, to be able to make a fortune here, who has a clean hand? Don't pretend to be benevolent now." Elder Wei was silent. At this moment, he didn't even dare to turn his head to look at his clansmen. At this moment, Zhou Fu spoke. However, he spoke to the mysterious Lord Ho. "How should I address you?" He didn't want to call him Lord whenever he saw him. "Haha, if Vice Leader Zhou doesn't mind, just call me Brother Ho." Lord Ho laughed very cheerfully. It was obvious that he didn't care about what was happening in the Wei clan. "Brother Ho?" Looking at the person in front of him who wanted to take advantage of him, Zhou Fu's face sank slightly. A light flashed in his eyes. Lord Ho's heart suddenly jumped. The muscles on his body stiffened subconsciously. He quickly smiled and said, "I'm just joking. I'm the treasurer of Ning and City, Ho Jianbai." "Treasurer? Someone from the imperial court?" Zhou Fu sized him up and thought to himself, no wonder the Wei clan people call him Lord. It turns out that he really is an official. So it really is Lord Ho. I was rude just now. I hope you don't blame me. Zhou Fu's face showed a kind smile. Seeing this, Ho Jianbai's heart twitched and he began to feel afraid. Just now, Ho Jianbai had been killing people. After hearing him teasing the other party, the heavy pressure made Ho Jianbai unable to recover. Now that he knew that he had an official position, he immediately became amiable. If it was someone in their 30s or 40s, he wouldn't care. However, Zhou Fu didn't look like he was 20 years old. He was so young, held a high position, and was scheming. He almost had the characteristics of a big shot. Although he wouldn't take the initiative to provoke such a person, it was still necessary to be vigilant. Ho Jianbai waved his hand and said, "I don't deserve the title, Lord. If Vice Leader Zhou doesn't mind, just call me Treasurer Ho." This title was neither close nor distant. It was just right. Treasurer Ho, surname and official position? It was common. May I know why Treasurer Ho came to the Wei clan today? Zhou Fu asked. Ho Jianbai smiled and said, It's not a big deal. A few days ago, there was a disaster in Heiyang City. A lot of food in Ning'an City was transported there. Now that winter is approaching, I'm afraid that there won't be enough food in the city. The Wei clan happens to be a grain merchant in the East City, so I'm here to discuss the issue of food with the Wei clan. So he was here to find a distributor. I see. Zhou Fu's eyes turned and said to Huang Feng, did you hear that? Lord Ho is here to do something. If you continue to delay, how can Lord Ho let you do something important? Huang Feng was stunned and immediately became excited. Zhou Fu was letting Huang Jia replace the Wei clan. It was a great benefit. Don't worry, Lord Ho. I will definitely satisfy Lord Ho. I won't delay the matter. After he finished speaking, he turned to look at Elder Wei. At this moment, Huang Feng no longer had a kind expression on his face. Under the temptation of benefits, his face turned cold. Cutting off someone's path to wealth was like killing their parent. Cutting off the future of their clan was like digging up their ancestors' grave. With such great benefits in front of him, Huang Feng's voice was like the north wind in winter. He turned to look at Elder Wei, who was dumbfounded. He reached out his hand and pressed on the unsigned contract, saying, If Elder Wei thinks it's difficult, then forget it. As a junior, I shouldn't make things difficult for an elder. As Huang Feng spoke, he was about to take back the contract. At this moment, Elder Wei suddenly came back to his senses. As if a bucket of cold water was poured over him, he snatched the contract and shouted in panic, I'll sign it, I'll sign it. Huang Feng said coldly, What else? Tears streamed down Elder Wei's face for a moment. He turned to the Wei clan and shouted, Take down those traitors. The Wei clan people were so frightened that they took a step back. They looked at each other in bewilderment and didn't move for a moment. Bastards, do you all want to die? If you don't do it, I'll do it myself. Men, take them down. This group of bastards was still hesitating when their lives were at stake. This made Old Man Wei so angry that the veins on his forehead popped out. Elder Wei's words were the last straw that broke the camel's back. The Wei clan guards who had already put down their weapons reacted the fastest. They immediately rushed into the crowd and grabbed more than 20 people amidst the cries and curses. Looking at the 20 or so Wei family members who were panicking and cursing, Old Man Wei roared, Kill them all! The front of the Wei clan's hall was instantly dyed red with blood. Huang Feng knocked on the table. What are you standing there for? Sign it. Elder Wei hurriedly turned around, grabbed a pen, and wrote his name in a flamboyant style. Then, he took out a seal and stamped it with his eyes closed. After stamping the seal, blood flowed from the corner of Elder Wei's mouth. He slumped weakly on the chair as if someone had pulled out his spine. Huang Feng instructed a guard to rush to Huang Jia and tell the family what had happened here. Taking over the Wei clan as the largest grain merchant in Ning, an East City wasn't just a casual remark. There were many things to do. Huang Feng couldn't handle it alone. Junior Huang Feng greets Lord Ho. Ho Jianbai laughed and said, Good, good. Heroes come from young. Chapter 231. The Wei clan's matter was dealt with quickly. After Huang Jia received the news, he quickly discussed it and sent people to the Chen clan. Then, he gathered the accounts of the Huang and Chen clans, as well as the people in charge, and headed to the Wei clan. After arriving at the Wei clan, Huang Feng was a little surprised to have brought the Chen clan's people. After Zhang Qingyan's incident, the Chen clan almost never appeared in front of Zhou Fu. He didn't expect that Huang Jia would call them over this time. Although he was surprised, Huang Feng didn't say anything when he saw that Zhou Fu didn't have any objections. After all, their target today was the Wei clan. If Huang Jia was alone, Huang Feng didn't have much confidence. After Ho Jianba saw Zhou Fu's subordinates, he didn't stay any longer. Taking advantage of the time just now, he told Huang Feng a lot of things that weren't obvious on paper. After all, he didn't have any impression of the Huang Jia, so Huang Jia must be an inconspicuous small force. Therefore, in order to reduce conflicts in the future, many rules had to be explained clearly. Deputy Gang Leader Zhou, I've been out for a long time. It's time to go back. Let's have tea together in the future. Hou Jianbai said with a smile and rejected Zhou Fu's invitation to send him out of the city. Then, he turned and left. After Hou Jianbai left, Huang Feng came to Zhou Fu's side and began to report, "Sir, Lord Hou just told me a lot of things about the grain business." Zhou Fu was also curious about the grain business that dominated Ning, an east city, so he asked Huang Feng to explain it in detail. "Sir, we collect grain from the docks at a fixed time every month, and then..." What followed was a series of business operations, which made Zhou Fu a little impatient. "Stop. Just tell me how the income and profits are divided." "Yes." Huang Feng stopped reluctantly. "Just now, Lord Hou said that he and the Wei clan split the profits 20 to 80. 28? Who's second and who's eighth?" Huang Feng paused and said carefully, "Lord Hou, take 80%. This ratio made Zhou Fu feel that it was ridiculous. What was the point of dividing? He had already taken it away. He waved at Old Fart Wei, and when the other party came closer, Zhou Fu asked, "Old Fart Wei, may I ask you something? Previously, how did your Wei clan and treasurer Hou split the profits?" "Let's split it 20 to 80. The same answer made Zhou Fu a little confused. He couldn't help but think, how can this thing make so much money? Seeing Zhou Fu's confusion, Old Fart Wei said, "Mr. Zhou, this is not how you do business, the grain, stop." Zhou Fu hurriedly stopped Old Fart Wei from going into a long speech. He pointed at Huang Feng and said, "You can talk to him about business matters. Alright, you can go back and take care of things over there." "Yes." Old Fart Wei seemed to be unsatisfied, but he couldn't say much. He turned and walked away. At this time, Huang Feng said, "Master, Lord Hou just said, he admires you very much, so in Sanchi came. But, out of the 30%, you still have to give him 5%. Ha 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 ha." Zhou Fu was so angry that he laughed out. "That Lord Hou must have never died before. I have never seen such a shameless person." Huang Feng hurriedly comforted, "Master, I still have to talk to the Wei clan first. If there was really a problem with the grain business, the Wei clan would not have developed to this stage." Zhou Fu shook his head. "You don't understand. I'm not angry about the division. Forget it, you should go and understand with the Wei clan." After sending Huang Feng away, Zhou Fu muttered to himself, "I'm angry about that Lord Hou's way of doing things. On the surface, he gave away 10% of the profits, but in the next moment, he asked for another 5%. He's trying to make things difficult for me." When Zhou Fu calmed down, half an hour had already passed. At this time, he suddenly remembered that he wanted to take down another clan. How did he get interrupted by that Lord Hou? In his heart, he silently made a note of this Lord Hou. He would deal with him in the future. At this time, Huang Feng also walked over. His expression was somewhat strained. "What's wrong?" Zhou Fu asked. "Master, you were preparing to go to another target just now, right?" Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows. "Yes. That. Master, we can't go. And? Reason. Just now, after a short period of calculation, if we want to swallow all of the Wei clan's businesses, we will need at least 2 months. If we want to digest it, we will need at least a year. It's going to take that long." Zhou Fu's voice sank. It was really too long. "Yes." Huang Feng nodded his head heavily and then explained, "Master, although we have many subordinates now, about 13,000 people, but those who can manage the businesses alone, only 6,000 people. And those who can be transferred, less than 1,000 people. Just now, from the Wei clan's account book and the information that Old Fart Wei told me, The people we can transfer are simply not enough. For a clan like the Wei clan, the scope of their businesses is already beyond my imagination. Just now, old Fart Wei told me that the Wei clan has more than 20 caravans, more than 1,800 people, and close to 5,000 horses and carriages. Zhou Fu was somewhat confused and asked, "With such power, why are they still so weak?" Huang Feng choked for a moment and laughed bitterly. "Master, not only is the Wei clan not weak, they are very strong. If it was our Huang Jia, even if we were given another 100 years, we would still not be a match for the Wei clan. Today, if it was someone else, they would not even be able to enter the Wei clan's door." Is that so? After being flattered by Huang Feng, he was slightly satisfied. "Yes, master. Not only me, in my Huang Jia's records, I have never heard of anyone who could directly enter the door of a top power and suppress them." "All right," Zhou Fu sighed with disappointment. "Then, how much money can the Wei clan bring me?" Huang Feng thought for a moment and said, "According to the account book, there are close to 10 million taels of silver every month." 10 million taels of silver? One must know that each blood yang pill consumed 1,000 taels of silver. In this way, wouldn't he have an extra 10,000 blood yang pills every month? Of course, this was just a comparison. If he really refined 10,000 blood yang pills every month, not to mention the lack of alchemists, he would not even have enough alchemy furnaces. Furthermore, that thing was not guaranteed to succeed every time. Seeing that Zhou Fu was silent, Huang Feng continued to report the Wei clan's information. "Master, the Wei clan also has some special businesses." "Special businesses? What?" "Medicine fields, mines." Zhou Fu's eyes flashed, and his heart palpitated with excitement. Medicine fields were a special kind of place. The herbs that grew there had stronger medicinal properties than other places. "Master, this is the Wei clan's mines and the information about their medicine fields. Currently, in Daliang country, where Zhou Fu was from, private ownership of mines was allowed, such as iron and copper mines. It was even allowed to smelt weapons. However, they had to pay taxes. As long as the taxes were paid, they could do whatever they wanted. If they dared to pay less or not, the consequences would be very miserable. According to the information on the paper, the Wei clan had a copper mine. 70% of the tax. The moment he saw the tax rate, Zhou Fu was stunned. 70% of the tax. In other words, if he earned 10 yuan from mining, he would have to pay 7 yuan in tax. What's there to play with? According to Zhou Fu's calculations, after deducting the maintenance costs of the mine, the wages of the miners, and the daily consumption of food, how much was left? Huang Feng explained in a low voice. "Master, the remaining 30% is already quite a lot. There are millions of taels of income every month." In front of the data provided by Huang Feng, Zhou Fu was stunned again. 30% of the mine was so much? Forget it, Zhou Fu did not plan to do business anyway. It was enough for him to know about these things, and he would not delve into it. Zhou Fu said to Huang Feng, "As long as you know what to do, you decide what to do. This subordinate will definitely not let down master's trust." Huang Feng was very excited. This was the first time the Huang clan controlled a mine, and it was in his hands. Zhou Fu said, "The medicine fields are more important now, so you should pay more attention to this. Also, I have a pill formula here, let those alchemists take a look." "Yes, this subordinate will go back and do it." "Okay," Zhou Fu nodded. After thinking for a while, he still did not give up and asked, "Huang Feng, do we really not have any manpower?" Huang Feng quickly shook his head. "No, we really don't. Among the 12 major powers, excluding the giant whale and the Red Sea gang, there were 9 other powers like the Wei clan. Moreover, the Wei clan was only above average among the other 10. If Zhou Fu became interested and took down another power like the Wei clan, they would not be able to handle it at all. Business had to be transformed, and it was not as simple as just continuing after taking over. That would be reckless and would not last long. Huang Feng was the most talented person in Huang clan, and he was also the luckiest person. Naturally, he would not be reckless. 3 days later, Zhou Fu helplessly reclined in his chair. Through the information he had received from the Wei clan over the past few days, he finally understood just how enormous these top forces were to be able to become a city. The Wei clan was already like this, not to mention the other 9 families. Wealth was tempting, but to swallow it all in one bite, Zhou Fu did not have such a big appetite. This is too terrifying. Previously, I wanted to swallow the entire Ning and East City. Now, it seems that I was indeed too young. Who would have known that there were so many tricks in this place? Forget it, it's better for me to cultivate honestly. Zhou Fu took a sip of tea, turned his head to look at the information in his hand, and then sighed again. The matter of Ning and East City has to be put aside for a while. I'll wait until spring next year and integrate the giant whale's resources before going to Ning and East City. After making up his mind, he called Duan Qing. Sir, you were looking for me? Zhou Fu nodded and asked, Do you still remember Qin Wenyao's matter? This subordinate hasn't forgotten, sir. Dozens of people have been keeping an eye on him every day for the past few months, and they have never relaxed. Duan Qing quickly replied, Also, according to the report from my subordinates, Chen Wenyao's appearance has changed greatly. What's even stranger is that his face has become exactly the same as that of Treant Zhang Yao who died in the dungeon. Zhou Fu smiled and said, That's Zhang Yao. Looking at Duan Qing's somewhat uncomfortable expression, Zhou Fu smiled and said, Don't think too much. Where's the nearest place to Zhang Yao? Qingtian County with a population of more than 30,000 people. It's more than 80 miles away from that strange village. Zhou Fu nodded and said, Qingtian County, is it? Tell your men to prepare. We'll set off tomorrow. We don't need a lot of people this time, just a dozen or so. Yes, sir, said Duan Qing in a deep voice. This subordinate will arrange it now. The next day, Zhou Fu took a carriage and went straight to Qingtian County early in the morning. After becoming the deputy leader of the giant whale gang and the Wei clan's matter, Zhou Fu had become a celebrity in Ning and East City. Whenever he made a move, it would quickly spread to the ears of all the higher-ups, including the Bai clan. Out of the city? Bai Mingxian, the head of the Bai clan, was somewhat surprised. He was the one who paid the most attention to Zhou Fu's movements. It was not because of anything else, but because his big brother's only son was Bai Lang. He seemed to have a deep friendship with Zhou Fu. Bai Mingxian was the second son who took over the helm of the Bai clan. As for the eldest son, Bai Mingxian, he lost his chance to ascend to the top because of Bai Lang's matter. Now, Bai Lang had returned, and he even brought an expert with him. Not only that, but Bai Lang was also related to Zhou Fu, a tyrannical and powerful man. How could Bai Mingxian feel at ease? He was afraid that when he woke up one day, there would be a shining long knife on his neck, or he would never wake up again. Bai Mingxian said to the spy who had returned, No matter where Zhou Fu goes, keep a close eye on him. If there's any movement, report it to me. Yes. Also, keep a close eye on the east courtyard. Yes. After the spy left, Bai Mingxian closed his eyes and rubbed his forehead. His hair that was still black 3 months ago had turned white, and his face was much more haggard. Giant whale gang. Xing Gang looked at the spy in front of him and asked, Zhou Fu went out of the city? Where to? The spy said, According to the news from the Elysium, Deputy Leader Zhou went to Qingtian County. Qingtian County? Xing Gang thought for a moment. That place was somewhat familiar, but it was also very vague. After thinking for a long time, he still couldn't think of anything special about that place. However, a place that Zhou Fu had his eyes on was definitely not an ordinary place. The spy whispered, Sir, that place is very close to Changle Village. Hearing this name, Xing Gang's eyes suddenly widened. Changle Village? Qingtian County? That's the tree demon's territory? At this moment, he finally remembered, but what followed was even more confusion. This is interesting. What's he going there for? Shingang frowned as thoughts spun in his mind. Suddenly, a bright light flashed. He said in shock, "Great Sun True Chi. Don't tell me he's going to kill the tree demon to obtain spiritual energy for cultivation?" After this thought appeared, the more he thought about it, the more he felt that this was Zhou Fu's goal. Tsk. Shingang smacked his lips, a look of excitement on his face as he sighed. You don't say, using the great Sun Zhenqi to suppress those things, and then relying on the tyrannical body to crush them, this is a totally feasible path. At this point, Shingang's expression became a little strange. He wanted to laugh, but also wanted to sigh. It seems like no one told him that he shouldn't come into contact with those things too much. Otherwise, so what if he's a genius? In the end, he'll still fall due to ignorance. He shook his head. Shingang ordered, "Arrange for people to check on Zhou Fu every once in a while. You don't need to participate in anything else." Yes. After the spy left, Shingang walked out of the room and looked at the distant sky. It was the direction of Qintian County. This is getting more and more interesting. Chapter 232. After exiting Ning and East City's South Gate, they followed the main road for 7 days before arriving at Qintian County. The county wasn't big, but the streets were lined with shops and an endless stream of people. I didn't expect this place to be so lively. It's almost as lively as the docks. Zhou Fu looked at the scenery outside through the window of the carriage. When the guard on horseback heard Zhou Fu's words, his heart skipped a beat. Being able to form a relationship with a big shot, even if it was just a word, would be beneficial. Thus, he lightly patted his horse and urged it to move faster to the window. "My lord, Qintian County is also considered a big county. It's also close to the trade route. Many caravans from the south to the north would come here to rest." Zhou Fu nodded and didn't say anything. Just as the guard lowered the curtain in disappointment, a faint light rushed out and hit the guard's chest. After the curtain was lowered, Zhou Fu leaned against the soft cushion and closed his eyes to rest. The guard only felt a warmth in his chest, then the warm energy quickly spread from his heart to his entire body. It was like soaking in hot spring water in winter. A comfortable feeling filled his heart. "Thank you, my lord, for the reward." The guard on the horse trembled with excitement. He could feel that his body was full of vitality under the nourishment of the warm energy. The other guards also looked over, their eyes full of jealousy. Although they didn't know what happened, from the trembling bastard's tone, they knew that he must have received a great reward. At dusk, the carriage arrived at a large courtyard in the south of Qintian County. "My lord, we're here." This courtyard was arranged by Huang Feng. It had already been tidied up before they arrived. Even the cooks and servants who did the chores were all from Ning and City. "Rest well today, we'll leave tomorrow." Yes. After a few days of traveling, everyone was exhausted. Now that they had arrived at their destination, they first ate a warm meal with meat and vegetables. The dishes were complete. Then, they took a warm bath and lay on the bed with a heavy sleepiness. As soon as they covered themselves with the quilt, they fell asleep. The moon was high in the sky, and a gust of cold wind blew in through the window. Zhou Fu, who was meditating on the bed, opened his eyes. He stared at the slightly opened window opposite him, and a glint flashed in his eyes. Clang! The window suddenly opened, and a shadow flashed in the room. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Fu was outside the room. The moonlight shone down, and the silvery white moonlight covered everything in front of him. Silence. It was extremely quiet. There was no sound at all. It was eerily quiet. Zhou Fu stretched out his hand and felt a slight breeze blow past him. When the cold wind came into contact with Zhou Fu's skin, there were still sporadic traces of coldness. It felt like snowflakes falling, and it was about to drill into Zhou Fu's body. "Interesting. I haven't even gone to look for you, but I didn't expect you to come looking for us first." The corners of Zhou Fu's mouth curled up slightly. The great sun primary chi within his body vibrated slightly, and the surrounding chill dissipated instantly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Multiple gusts of cold wind, exuding the chill of a blade, whistled towards Zhou Fu. It's still the same move. Sigh. Zhou Fu sighed. The scene in front of him reminded him of Niu Wanqing in Heyang City. It was almost the same attack style. Clang, 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 clang. The attacks landed on Zhou Fu's body, and they disappeared amidst the sound of metal clanging. Those attacks didn't even leave a scratch on Zhou Fu's clothes. The strength is much stronger than Niu Wanqing's, but that's it. Zhou Fu walked into the spacious courtyard. He didn't want to accidentally destroy his sleeping place when the fight started. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Well hidden. Zhou Fu snorted. He had been trying to sense the opponent's location, but to no avail. He threw out a punch, and a golden light shot up into the sky. There was a loud bang, and a violent airflow surged above the courtyard. Zhou Fu turned his head and looked around. There was such a big commotion, but no one came. His heart sank, and he muttered to himself, "Is it an illusion?" A cool feeling spread out from between his eyebrows, and a golden light appeared in his eyes. He looked around, but didn't find anything unusual. Just as Zhou Fu was about to go to the guard's room to check, another wave of attacks came. Zhou Fu stopped in his tracks and launched a punch into the sky. The solid golden fist shattered the attack once again. He looked around again, but still didn't find anything. He couldn't help but mutter, "How annoying." After standing in place for 2 minutes and seeing that nothing had happened, Zhou Fu walked towards the room where the guards were resting. However, just as he took a step forward, his front foot landed on the ground and his back foot lifted up. The ground cracked open with a loud bang, revealing a hole the size of an adult's fist. A black tree root shot out from the hole and wrapped around Zhou Fu's ankle. Everything happened so fast that Zhou Fu didn't have time to react. He felt his right leg tighten, and then a huge force pulled him to the ground. Humph! Zhou Fu snorted, and his leg that was bound suddenly exerted force. With a bang, he stepped into the ground and stepped on the tree root. The tree root was attacked, and it began to twist wildly. The tree root wrapped around his leg suddenly tightened, trying to break his leg. Tree demon! Zhou Fu reached out and grabbed the tree root. He sneered, "Rise!" Boom! As Zhou Fu exerted all his strength, the ground beneath his feet shattered with a bang. His feet sank deep into the ground. Kacha! Kacha! Bang! The tree root was broken by Zhou Fu. Black juice splashed out and Zhou Fu dodged. He turned to look at a big tree in the courtyard. The tree that was bare during the day had grown a large number of black leaves that danced under the moonlight. "Zhang Yao!" Zhou Fu called out tentatively. It was because Zhou Fu had only seen one tree demon, and that was Zhang Yao. Ga. Zhou Fu. I didn't expect us to meet again." An ear-piercing voice sounded, and a human face that was emitting a dark green light appeared on the tree trunk. "When you sent someone to follow me, I knew you would come. I just didn't expect you to come so late." The ear-piercing voice made Zhou Fu frown. It was too unpleasant to hear. "It doesn't matter if it's sooner or later." Zhou Fu stomped his foot, and a crack appeared on the ground. Crackling sounds came from inside, accompanied by juice spurting out. Obviously, the tree root below was shattered by Zhou Fu's powerful force. He looked at Zhang Yao as if nothing had happened. Instead, he continued to ask, "It's said that even a vicious tiger won't eat its cubs. You seem to have killed your own flesh and blood, right? If your sister knew about this, I wonder how much she would hate you." Zhang Yao was silent for a while and said in a muffled voice, "That little bastard? He actually looked down on me. His life was given by me, what right does he have to look down on me? As for flesh and blood, as long as I'm alive, I can have that kind of thing whenever I want." Chapter 233. Zhang Yao's words stunned Zhou Fu for a while. He organized his words and said, "That's true, but can you really give birth in your current state? Or do you want to grow a sapling like the other trees?" Zhou Fu's voice echoed under the moonlight and into Zhang Yao's ears. Under the moonlight, the swaying black branches and leaves stopped. Then, they shook violently and an ear-piercing roar spread from the trunk. "Zhou Fu! Bastard, you deserve to die!" Bang! 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 Dozens of black holes appeared on the ground in the courtyard. Black tree roots rushed out from the holes and continued to rise until they reached a height of more than 3 meters. Then, they stabbed towards Zhou Fu like spears. "Why are you so angry in the middle of the night? You'll get heaty easily. You're a tree demon, won't that be worse for your body?" Zhou Fu smiled provocatively. Then, he threw a punch. A platinum light shot up into the sky and collided with the tree roots that were coming down. Boom! Under the roar of the energy, the tree roots were shattered. The broken parts were slowly ignited with flames. Roar! Seeing the flames, Zhang Yao waved his tree roots crazily and continuously smashed them on the ground, trying to extinguish the flames. Zhou Fu laughed. "Zhang Yao, are you familiar with this? This flame is even more powerful than the one I burned you with last time." Amidst Zhang Yao's roar, 4 flaming tree roots pierced through Zhou Fu's body. Then, Zhou Fu's penetrated body slowly faded until it disappeared. It was just a shadow. In the next moment, Zhou Fu appeared less than a step away from Zhang Yao. Looking at his ferocious face, Zhou Fu said, "It's the middle of the night. Sleep early. I'll find you tomorrow." Then, without waiting for Zhang Yao to say anything, Zhou Fu punched the tree trunk. The great Sun True Qi merged with the Wisdom King scripture rushed into the tree demon's body, causing a series of explosions. In the flames, Zhang Yao roared in anger, "Zhou Fu, I'll wait for you. I'll tear you into pieces and eat you." Boom! The tree trunk shook violently and burst open. Large amounts of white gold flames rushed out and burned the entire tree to ashes in a short while. As the tree trunk fell, a cool and refreshing energy spread out and was absorbed into Zhou Fu's body. "Sigh, Zhang Yao's clone isn't good enough. It's too weak. It's not satisfying." Zhou Fu shook his head and glanced at the courtyard that was in a mess. He sighed once more and returned to his room to sleep. Early the next morning, Zhou Fu was awakened by screams. He pushed open the door and went out. At this time, all the guards had come out. The servants looked at the scene in the courtyard in panic. "All right, stop quarreling. Let's cook first," Zhou Fu said plainly. Seeing Zhou Fu come out and speak, the guards and servants calmed down a lot. After all, in their eyes, as long as their boss was still there, they would feel at ease. Perhaps it was just like the old saying, even if the sky fell, there would always be someone taller to hold it up. The taller person in their eyes was Zhou Fu. The servants began to get busy, but the guards were different. Their duty was to guard, but from the current situation, they were not doing their job well. Therefore, the leader of the guards came to Zhou Fu's side. "Sir, I've failed in my duty. Please punish me." From the situation in the courtyard, there must have been a fierce battle. Otherwise, there would not be such an exaggerated scene. What made him feel bad was that he had forgotten everything that happened last night. He did not even remember arranging the night watchers. Not only him, but the other guards were the same. After waking up today, everyone was sleeping in the room as if they had slept last night. This kind of situation was impossible. At the very least, they had to arrange for the 2 night watchers. Zhou Fu waved his hand and said, "It's okay. You all fell into someone's trap yesterday and fainted. There's no need to apologize. Take everyone and rest for a while. After dinner, we'll set off for Changle village." Seeing that Zhou Fu did not blame them, the guards were relieved. "Yes, sir." Everyone waited for an hour and a half before they could eat. Even when they were eating, everyone was still restless. There was nothing they could do about it. After all, when they woke up, the courtyard looked like a dragon had turned over. Who could stand it? At this moment, it was already not easy for these people to sit down and have a meal. After dinner, everyone packed their bags with heavy expressions and set off for Changle Village. Qingtian County was more than 80 miles away from Changle Village. Because it was a road between the county and the village, the road conditions were very bad. By noon, they had traveled less than 30 miles. "Can't we reach Changle Village before the sun sets?" Zhou Fu did not want to rush there in the middle of the night. Judging from the time when Zhang Yao attacked, the monsters would take over in the middle of the night. If they attacked, none of his subordinates would be able to survive. "Sir," a guard walked over. 40 miles from here, which is about 10 miles away from Changle Village, we have a temporary camp that is being prepared." The guard's words surprised Zhou Fu. He asked, "Camp? How did it come about?" "Sir, it was Sir Huang's order. It has been 5 or 6 days. I think it's already finished. It's just a bit simple." Zhou Fu smiled. His favorable impression of Huang Feng increased once again. Needless to say, it was really comfortable to have someone who knew how to do things. Since there was a camp, Zhou Fu ordered, "Rest for a while and continue on our way. We'll reach the camp before dusk." "Yes, sir." The sun set early in the winter. It was already dusk at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. At this time, everyone arrived at the camp. It was not that there was no one here. There were 5 or 6 servants living there. Seeing Zhou Fu and the others arrive, a person came out of the camp to verify their identities and welcomed them in. In the camp, hot water and food were already prepared. There was no need for them to wait. After eating, Zhou Fu told everyone to rest. He planned to enter the mountain again the next day. At night, a cold wind blew. A white mist filled the mountain forest and slowly drifted over. Zhou Fu originally thought that it was water vapor from the mountains, but upon contact, he immediately felt that something was amiss. "Something's wrong. There's something wrong with this mist." He immediately became alert and circulated his inner strength. The aura of the great sun true qi leaked out. The white mist was very afraid and quickly retreated. In just a few seconds, the white mist in the courtyard became thicker. With the support of Zhou Fu's inner strength, he could see more than 50 steps away. The courtyard shrouded in white mist was very quiet, just like last night. Jie 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 jie. A familiar and ear-piercing laughter sounded. The surface of a big tree quickly turned black, and Zhang Yao's demonic face appeared. "Zhou Fu, I didn't think you would dare to come." Zhou Fu snorted. He knew that his subordinates had been knocked out again. He couldn't help but feel helpless. "Zhou Fu, come up the mountain now. I'll wait for you. If you don't come, I won't let any of your subordinates live." "Is that so?" Zhou Fu's figure suddenly appeared beside the tree. His white gold fist had already smashed into the tree trunk. Boom! Bang bang bang! Looking at the big tree surrounded by fire, Zhou Fu sneered, "Kill? With our relationship, if you could kill someone, you would have done it long ago. Why would you negotiate with me?" Roar! "Zhou Fu, you bastard!" Under the burning of the great sun true qi, Zhang Yao cried out in pain. "Zhang Yao, I'll let you taste the pain first. When I find you later, I'll let you feel the burning sensation again." Roar! "I'll wait for you." Boom! The big tree suddenly exploded. Sparks flew all over the sky. Zhou Fu's palms continuously struck out, bringing about a large amount of strong wind, sweeping up the falling sparks and flying them towards the sky. When the sparks fell again, they were all extinguished before they hit the ground. Zhou Fu activated his inner qi and used his finger to leave a message on the wall. His body turned into a shadow as he rushed towards the mountains in the southeast direction. The night was the domain of the demons. In other words, the demons were the most numerous at night. This was exactly what Zhou Fu needed. Therefore, he decided to go to Changle Village now. After half an hour of rushing, Zhou Fu had already entered the forest. There was a small path here. There were some withered yellow weeds scattered on the path. Zhou Fu walked along the path. He had learned some information about Changle Village from the previous report. It was a village that was almost completely sealed off. Even the records of Chintian County were not very detailed. They only said that it was a strange village. If people passed by, bad things would happen. They even forbade people from passing by. Even so, the mountain path leading to Changle Village had always existed. It had been decades since anyone had used it. In the middle of the night, the trees in the forest had turned black. Coupled with the cold wind blowing, it was like a ghost town. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Zhou Fu frowned. The tip of his foot tapped on the trunk of a nearby tree. With a bang, the trunk exploded. He used the recoil force to change direction and avoid the attack that was aimed at him. When Zhou Fu stopped, a rustling sound could be heard in the darkness. It was not the sound of leaves rubbing against each other. It was more like the sound of insects crawling. Whoosh! The sound came from above. Zhou Fu immediately looked up. He saw a large number of black dots rushing towards him. Not only that, but there were also black dots on the ground. Centipedes, toads, venomous snakes. The sky was filled with poisonous insects that rushed towards him like raindrops. Zhou Fu's body went numb. It was not because of fear, but because of his subconscious reaction. F***ck. After seeing these things clearly, Zhou Fu's body was covered with goosebumps. Go to hell! With a roar, a platinum light burst out, illuminating the dark forest as if it was daytime. The raging great sun Zhen Qi swept out in all directions, igniting all the poisonous insects that rushed towards him. After the attack, Zhou Fu dashed towards the mountain. Although he was not afraid of these things, he was still disgusted by them. More than 10 minutes later, the dense forest gradually thinned out. There were also a few flashes of light in the distance. At the edge of the forest, Zhou Fu looked at the vast field in front of him and the dark village in the middle of the field. Changle Village. Chapter 234. Zhou Fu! The voice came from Changle Village like a gust of wind. The black plants in the field were all bent by the wind, slowly lying on the ground. Many black figures were standing in the field. I didn't expect you to really come. Ha 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 ha. Come and feel the enthusiasm of the villagers. Zhou Fu was surrounded by strong winds. The weeds on the ground around him suddenly left the ground and were carried into the air by the wind. So many, looking at the black figures rushing towards him, Zhou Fu's face revealed an excited smile. Platinum lines appeared on his body and connected with each other, covering his entire body. With so many things, it should be enough to upgrade my Wisdom King scripture. Ever since Zhou Fu upgraded the Wisdom King scripture to the 6th level, he had not upgraded it again. It was not that he did not want to upgrade it, but every time he wanted to upgrade it, he would feel fear and trepidation. It was as if he dared to upgrade it, he would die on the spot. Come, kill. Zhou Fu's eyes shone with a golden light as he rushed forward. His right hand pierced out like a spear. Dazzling white light flowed on his 5 fingers. Puff! His 5 fingers pierced into the chest of a humanoid monster like a hot knife through tofu. Then, the blazing Grand Sun True Qi exploded. With a boom, the monster's body was covered in platinum flames. Zhou Fu's fingers clenched. He spun on the spot and threw the burning corpse into the crowd of monsters. Using Grand Sun True Qi to activate Gold Cracking Finger. Interesting. Zhou Fu looked at the result of his battle and laughed. He was very satisfied. Kill. The platinum light shone in all directions and sent the figures wrapped in platinum flames flying. The black field was suddenly filled with flames. But the strange thing was that the flames did not spread to the surroundings. Zhou Fu leaped into the air and punched down. Boom! The last 4 monsters in the center of the attack suddenly collapsed. Under the faint illumination of the fire, Zhou Fu stood in the middle of the field. Around him, waves of cool energy were attracted to him and then absorbed into his body. After a long time, the surrounding energy dissipated. Zhou Fu opened his eyes and said with some regret, "Unfortunately, it's still lacking a little." he turned his gaze towards the dark village. Without any hesitation, he tapped his foot and dashed over in a flash. On the way to the village, Zhou Fu did not encounter any attack. However, the moment he stepped into the village, strange sounds rang out around him. It sounded like someone was whispering, but also like suppressed sobs. The voices were male and female, old and young. They intertwined with each other, causing one's heart to be in turmoil. Boring tricks. Zhou Fu sneered as a blood-red dot appeared between his eyebrows. This was the killing intent of the demonic whale-killing fist. Immediately after, an ice-cold killing intent fell like a guillotine, sweeping in all directions. Those disturbing voices immediately dissipated. It's still lacking a little. When can the great Sun True Chi and the demonic whale-killing fist coexist? Otherwise, it would be more convenient to cover the ground with the demonic fog. After sighing silently, he stepped into the village. Woo, a cold wind blew, and the sound of wood breaking could be heard. 2 attacks came from the darkness, heading straight for Zhou Fu's head. Just as the attack was about to land on Zhou Fu's body, he turned around and dodged one of the attacks. He turned around and punched out. The platinum light shattered one of the black shadows. His other hand reached out and grabbed another black shadow tightly. Tree roots again. After seeing the thing in his hand clearly, Zhou Fu muttered. Then, he leaped into the air and rushed into the street by following the tree root. What the hell is this? Zhou Fu stopped in front of a small courtyard. In the courtyard there was a dark tree with a very strange shape. The tree trunk was more than 3 feet tall, and there were 3 branches. They were all bare. At the top of each branch there was a vine hanging down. On each of the 3 vines there was something that looked like a cicada's cocoon. Zhou Fu frowned. The great Sun True Chi in his hand surged. The platinum light burned and spread along the dark tree roots towards the big tree. Hiss! Roar! An ear-piercing cry came from the big tree. An ugly human face appeared, and it looked like it was in pain. The burning tree roots kept swaying in the air. Bang! Bang! 2 deep holes appeared in the ground. 2 tree roots rushed out from the holes and pierced towards Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu clenched his fist and punched back. With the support of his powerful inner force, he shattered the tree roots that were coming at him. Then, he struck out with his palm and shattered the wooden wall in front of him that was half the height of a person. The broken pieces of wood burst into flames and scattered on the ground in the courtyard. When Zhou Fu stepped into the courtyard, the tree demon seemed to feel threatened. The 3 cocoon-like things hanging on the tree trunk began to vibrate. Crack! Crack! The sound of wood cracking could be heard. The cocoon-like object quickly split open like a peach with its mouth open. Something with a green light inside rolled out, giving people a very evil and disgusting feeling. Zhou Fu, who was observing with rapt attention, suddenly narrowed his eyes. He saw clearly that there was a human inside the cocoon-like things. No, it was no longer a human. It was a dried corpse. There was no flesh under the purplish-black skin, but it was tightly attached to the bones. In the next second, a wave of anger surged in his heart. Because in the smallest of the 3 cocoon-like things there was a dried corpse that looked like it was 7 or 8 years old. Demon, you must die! Zhou Fu shouted angrily. His body glowed brightly as he slammed into the tree trunk. Roar! The 3 dried corpses broke free from the cocoon-like things and pounced towards Zhou Fu. However, they were too slow. At this moment, Zhou Fu was already standing in front of the tree demon. Kill! Boom! A pair of fists shining with platinum light smashed into the tree trunk. Zhou Fu's powerful strength exploded, directly breaking the tree demon's bark. His fist penetrated deep into the tree trunk. Following that, his inner strength exploded. The scorching hot energy was like an exploding pill. The violent inner strength caused the entire tree to swell up by a large circle. Crack! Crack! The tough bark of the tree in the past was now like a broken piece of porcelain, producing a dense sound. The 3 dried corpses behind Zhou Fu also stood still, as if they were waiting for something. Bang! A loud sound rang out. The tree trunk suddenly exploded, and a pillar of fire shot into the sky, illuminating the sky. Ah! Ear-piercing screams came from the three mummified corpses. Zhou Fu turned his head and saw that the three mummified corpses were like snowmen under the scorching sun. They melted quickly, and not even their bones were left. Only a pool of green liquid was left. A cool aura flowed and was absorbed into Zhou Fu's body. The comfortable feeling lifted his spirit. With the help of the burning fire on the tree demon, he saw the situation around him clearly. With one look, Zhou Fu only felt anger burning in him. There were many courtyards around him, and in each of them, there was a tree. There were some cocoon-like objects hanging from the trees. Demons should be killed. Zhou Fu's eyes were filled with coldness. He leaped and arrived at the courtyard next to him. Before the tree demon could react, he smashed the tree trunk with his fist. With a loud bang, the tree demon roared. The flames burned the tree demon at an extremely fast speed. Kill, continue to kill. After killing 4 tree demons, Zhou Fu did not wait for him to move to the next courtyard. He saw that the courtyard he was in was surrounded by tree demons. Zhou Fu was not afraid. He sneered, "This thing can move? Interesting." He leaped into the air. Suddenly, the sky darkened. He focused his gaze and saw a large black net covering his head. The net was made of tree branches. Bang! 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 The ground under Zhou Fu cracked. Countless tree roots intertwined with each other. Then, sharp roots stretched out like spears, piercing from the bottom to the top. This thing can even work together to attack? Facing a pincer attack, Zhou Fu snorted coldly. He was very confident in his strength. Open for me. Amidst Zhou Fu's furious roar, he punched upwards. Bang! The black net did not break as he expected. So tough? Under the black net, Zhou Fu raised his hand to block, but his body was still pressed down. At this time, the tree roots attack also arrived. Ding! 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 The tree roots on the ground hit Zhou Fu. Even the blood and qi in Zhou Fu's body was constantly vibrating. Damn it, this is a bit reckless. After landing, Zhou Fu's inner strength surged crazily, igniting all the tree roots around him. Amidst the endless screams, the ground was emptied again, but the black net above his head was still there. I can't break you, but I can burn you. Zhou Fu leaped up, and the black net came down again. He stretched out his hands and activated the golden cracking finger. His tyrannical and sharp fingers pierced deeply into the tree branches that formed the black net. Whoosh! A wave of heat rolled over, and large patches of white gold flames spread out. Roar! 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 After the fire, the tree demons around the courtyard roared together. The black net above his head shook violently, and with the sound of branches breaking, the net broke. Coldly looking at the tree demons, Zhou Fu sneered, "Since you are all here, it saves me the trouble of running around to find you. Kill." Pillars of fire lit up in Changle Village. In the depths of Changle Village, there was a small hill with an independent building on it. It was the ancestral hall of Changle Village. Zhang Yao, Zhou Fu's target tonight, was walking on the path in the middle of the ancestral hall. Hearing the roar from the village, Zhang Yao turned around. The light in the distance illuminated his face, which was like a dried tree bark, clearly visible. Bastard, he became stronger again. How could he become stronger again? Damn it! Sensing the information from the plants around him, he saw the figure that was slaughtering everyone around him, as well as the flames that made his soul tremble. No, I have to become stronger. I have to tear him apart. The fear in Zhang Yao's eyes slowly disappeared as he muttered to himself. He turned around and looked at the ancestral hall, which was still dark, with a crazed look in his eyes. Chapter 235. Surrounded by the pale candlelight, Zhang Yao knelt on the ground and muttered something. If one listened carefully, it sounded like he was in a trance, unconsciously muttering to himself. Zhang Yao was worshipping a stone statue with a blurry face. From its appearance, it was a female, but it could not be considered human because there were dense tree roots carved at the foot of the statue. As Zhang Yao's chanting became faster and faster, the candlelight in the room began to flicker. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew. "It's you!" A cold female voice sounded. However, immediately afterward, that female voice became furious. Wailing sounds could be heard from the side of her ears. "What happened here? Why are my people crying?" Zhang Yao raised his head, dark green liquid seeping out of his 7 orifices, and his voice became extremely miserable. He pointed outside the ancestral hall and said with grief and indignation, "Today, a stranger barged in from outside. The elders were kind and brought him to pay respects to you, but he suddenly attacked at the entrance of the ancestral hall and killed everyone. That person relied on his unparalleled yang cultivation, and the people could not stop him at all. In the end, the elders and the seniors fought to the death and drove that person into the village. But now that person has not only not left, but is also slaughtering the villagers. I hope you can kill this person and avenge our people." A pale green wind blew out of the stone statue, rushed out of the ancestral hall, blew through the mountain path, swept past the village, and finally returned to the stone statue. Crack! There was a cracking sound. On the stone statue, dense cracks appeared in an instant, and fine stone powder drifted in the air. Zhang Yao saw this scene, and his eyes flashed with uncontrollable joy. Then, he kowtowed to the ground, burying his entire face in the ground. "Lord Muyu, you must avenge our people." Avenge! Pale green light flowed out of the cracks of the stone statue, and condensed into a human figure in front of the stone statue. She was the Muyu that Zhang Yao spoke of. Muyu flew out and came to the entrance of the ancestral hall. There were half-human, half-demon corpses lying there. Their upper bodies were humans, and their lower bodies were trees. These were the villagers of Changel village, and they often came to the ancestral hall to pay respects to her. But now all of them were dead. Clansmen. Muyu's face was filled with sorrow. Suddenly, a loud noise pulled her back to reality. She raised her head and saw another pillar of fire rising from Changel village. She could even hear the pained cries of the villagers. Muyu's eyes turned ferocious. "Intruders, you deserve to die." With a flash of green light, she returned to the ancestral hall. She looked at Zhang Yao, who was still kneeling on the ground, and said, "Look after the ancestral hall. I will go and kill that person." Without giving Zhang Yao a chance to speak, she rushed out. After a while, Zhang Yao raised his head with a strange smile on his face. He stood up and walked to the door. He looked in the direction of Changel village and muttered to himself, unable to suppress the joy in his voice. "Zhou Fu, Muyu, go ahead and kill each other. In the end, I'll send you both to hell." Then, he got up and walked to the front of the altar. With a wave of his hand, he swept away the messy things on the table, leaving only the cracked stone statue. He walked to the side of the statue and sat down side by side. Looking at the distant sky and feeling the boiling night sky, Zhang Yao sighed. "It's true that the higher you stand, the further you can see. In the future, this place will be mine. I will also have many people. When the time comes, I will build a huge altar and accept the worship of tens of thousands of people. Go to hell." Zhou Fu flashed and caught up with a treant that was running away. He punched the treant's body. His inner strength exploded, and another torch appeared in Changel village. After dealing with the treant in front of him, Zhou Fu turned around and looked around. Of the dozen or so treants that had surrounded him, 2 were still alive. Zhou Fu absorbed the cool energy. His heart thumped, and waves of hot blood rushed through his body. At this moment, he was in a very good state. "All right, it's enough to increase the power of the wisdom King's scripture." Zhou Fu did not chase after the 2 treants that were running away. Instead, he sat down cross-legged. After the previous round of killing, he had used up a lot of his inner strength. Although his recovery speed was fast, it was not as fast as meditating. Zhang Yao. Zhou Fu looked in the direction of the village and said calmly, "I'll go find you later. The matter between us has dragged on for too long." Wisdom King Scripture increase. Boom. Zhou Fu's mind suddenly shook, and the blood in his body boiled. With him as the center, a wave of hot inner strength was released. At this moment, the darkness around Zhou Fu was completely dispelled. The Akalanatha Dharma stood in his mind. The monastic robe that was made of demonic fog kept floating, and the fire lotus under its feet kept rotating. The white round wheel behind the Dharma idol's head also started to rotate, and on the round wheel, there were some patterns that looked like symbols and words. The great inner strength in Zhou Fu's meridians was constantly being extracted by the Dharma idol. In his mind, the great inner strength turned into starlight, and slowly merged into the golden chain in the Dharma idol's left hand. The great inner strength of the great Sun True Chi disappeared, and Zhou Fu's body was empty except for his blood. The Dharma idol in his mind slowly emitted a gentle white light. The lines of its body and the contours of its face became clearer under the white light. Zhou Fu's expression was calm. He quietly waited for the next change. Now that he had spent so much effort, he did not believe that the Wisdom King Scripture would only change so little. At this moment, the Dharma idol suddenly shouted, as if it had been enlightened. All the techniques that Zhou Fu had seen and practiced appeared in his mind. At the same time, it was accompanied by the memories of his training and battles. This information was like a flood, constantly washing Zhou Fu's mind. At this moment, Zhou Fu felt that the world was spinning. His brain felt like it had been put into a blender, and it was constantly being churned. Ah, okay. He wanted to say something, but once he opened his mouth, it was as if he had lost the ability to speak. In the next moment, an extremely strong sense of dizziness suddenly rushed out. With a bang, Zhou Fu fell to the ground, his body constantly twitching. "I really want to die," Zhou Fu thought. Just as Zhou Fu was about to be tortured to the point of insanity by this feeling, a cool energy flowed out from between his eyebrows. The dizziness instantly disappeared, and Zhou Fu was able to breathe. ABA. Zhou Fu quickly shut his mouth. Chapter 236. The information in his mind was still flowing, and his brain was quickly digesting these things. However, his body was still lying on the ground. Although he could move, he wanted to lie down like this. In order to resist the strong dizziness, the mental power flowing from between his eyebrows was consumed quickly. In less than 10 seconds, the strong dizziness hit him again. Zhou Fu subconsciously operated the God wheel between his eyebrows, but there was no inner strength in his body. A dry feeling emerged in his heart. Therefore, he mobilized the Yangming wheel and the Qi-Si wheel. The essence in his body was converted into Qi and blood by the Yangming wheel. The Qi and blood were converted into inner strength by the Qi-Si wheel. The inner strength was then extracted by the God wheel and converted into cool mental power. After the dizziness was suppressed again, Zhou Fu slowly stood up. He opened his mouth and the ability to speak was restored. At this moment, a heavy pressure came from the sky. He couldn't help but look up. A dark green long whip was coming at his head. Zhou Fu took a deep breath and his eyes lit up. "Zhang Yao? You have guts. I haven't gone to find you yet, and you've come to me." With a flash, Zhou Fu dodged the attack. Boom! After a loud noise, a deep crack was drawn on the ground. The vibration of the ground made Zhou Fu's eyes twitch. This attack. Is it really Zhang Yao? The other party's progress is too fast. The long whip didn't hit, but it immediately rolled up. Like a spirit snake, it wrapped around Zhou Fu again. Zhou Fu, who was about to dodge again, suddenly had an inexplicable feeling in his heart. Facing the attack in front of him, he punched out. A golden light appeared on his fist. His inner strength had returned, but it had changed color. With a bang, the snake-like whip trembled and stopped moving. Zhou Fu changed his fist into a claw. His 5 fingers were shining with golden light. He suddenly pierced into the green light and grabbed the long whip tightly. Under the impact of Zhou Fu's golden inner strength, the green light exploded with a bang. At this moment, Zhou Fu was holding a jade-like branch in his hand. Eh! Seeing such an exquisite item, Zhou Fu exclaimed in surprise. Needless to say, this thing looked pretty good. Crash! The branches seemed to have sensed the threat and began to twist wildly, trying to break free. Zhou Fu clenched his fists tightly, and the golden radiance rapidly contracted, exuding a sharp aura that was accompanied by waves of heat. This was the combination of the Wisdom King scripture with the great Sun True Chi and the gold cracking finger. Sizzle! An ear-piercing sound rang out, and a large amount of sparks burst out between Zhou Fu's fingers and the branches, as if he was cutting steel. Outsider, you slaughtered my people. You deserve to die. The cold female voice stunned Zhou Fu. The other party wasn't Zhang Yao? But it didn't matter. Since she called the tree demon he killed a clansman, it meant that she was also a tree demon. Since tree demons harmed people, he could just kill them all. In the sky, another green light came. Although it wasn't as powerful as the long whip that Zhou Fu caught, the light was more dazzling, causing Zhou Fu's temple to twitch. This was the target of the green light. Humph! With an unwilling snort, Zhou Fu let go of the branch in his hand and dodged the attack. Whoosh! The branch was quickly pulled back, and the green light seemed to have a mind of its own. It suddenly turned and continued to attack Zhou Fu. Eh? It can turn. Zhou Fu widened his eyes. This was the first time he saw a long-range attack that could turn. However, just as he was about to continue dodging and look for the enemy behind him, a strong sense of dizziness came over him. F***ck. Zhou Fu cursed angrily. He swayed and fell to the ground with a thud. The green light brushed past the corner of Zhou Fu's clothes and hit the side. Boom! With a loud bang, Zhou Fu was swept away by the shockwave. After flying 5 or 6 meters, he crashed to the ground again. Humph, you dodged quickly. A mocking voice came, making Zhou Fu sullen. If it weren't for the fact that I'm not feeling well right now, I would have pressed you down and beaten you. The thought of complaining flashed through his mind, and then a large amount of information surged into his mind, making Zhou Fu dizzy. At the same time, he was puzzled. What's with this upgrade? Is it to integrate everything I've learned? But isn't this too violent? His head was about to explode. How the hell did those people who cultivated the Great Sun Scripture manage to endure it? It was no wonder that Zhou Fu thought so. After all, he had never received a systematic martial arts education. And as the place of inheritance of the Great Sun Sutra, Defo Temple naturally had their own systematic cultivation method. They had rich experience in what was needed for each realm and how to accumulate experience. Not only that, none of the people who cultivated the Great Sun Sutra in Defo Temple had increased their cultivation techniques realm like Zhou Fu. They had all relied on the accumulation of time to break through a bottleneck. Naturally, they would have the strength of a corresponding realm and would not have suffered like Zhou Fu. When the person in the dark saw Zhou Fu fall to the ground, 2 more branches emitting green light shot out and lashed at him. Bang bang bang! Amidst the green light, a golden figure was sent flying. But no matter how they attacked, Zhou Fu did not come out unscathed, but he also did not suffer any substantial injuries. Ah! Bastard! Outsider, I'll kill you! Seeing that her attacks were ineffective, Mu Yu was furious. She stood in the air, a ball of green light appearing between her hands. Within the green light, 18 thread-like rays of light shot out. The rays of light fell and drilled into the bodies of the 18 surviving tree demons in the village. Roar! With a deafening roar, 18 figures soared into the air and swiftly arrived at Mu Yu's side, surrounding her like stars surrounding the moon. Holding the ball of light connected to the threads, Mu Yu's eyes were filled with hatred. She could sense that the person below had not only killed her clansmen, but had also devoured the spirit energy that dissipated after their deaths. This meant that the outsider had come for the spirit energy in their bodies. At this moment, Mu Yu had already discovered the truth. Connecting the dots between her dead clansmen and the charred corpses below, although she still felt that something was wrong, now was not the time to delve into it. Mu Yu's eyes burned with anger as she glared at Zhou Fu. With a howl, she pressed her hands down. Outsider, die! In a flash, 18 black figures, like 18 small mountains, howled through the air as they smashed toward Zhou Fu. The black figures that blotted out the sky and surged like a tidal wave, startling Zhou Fu so much that he broke out in a cold sweat. Even the dizziness in his head disappeared. Run! I can't take it. With the support of the Wisdom King scripture, his adamantine battle body was indeed extremely tough. However, this did not mean that he could take all the attacks head-on. His organs, meridians, and blood were not as tough as his body. With a boom, the ground beneath Zhou Fu's feet cracked open, and a sharp blade appeared under his feet. His figure disappeared in the blink of an eye. The 18 figures landed on the ground, and the entire Changle village quieted down. It was like the silence before a volcano erupted. In the next moment, the ground, air, and even space began to vibrate more and more violently. Boom! Rivers burst, glaciers crumbled. Violent shockwaves swept in all directions. Zhou Fu's eyes widened, and his body shone with golden light. He madly activated the blade steps that he recalled, which was the fastest movement technique in a straight line. In Changle village, a golden silhouette smashed through one house after another, madly dashing forward. Behind him was a wall of shockwaves that was more than 100 feet tall. Just as Zhou Fu was running for his life, a green light enlarged in front of his eyes. He could vaguely hear Zhang Yao's voice. Zhou Fu, I hope you can survive. If Zhou Fu were to turn, he would be hit by the shockwaves behind him. Moreover, his speed was too fast. If he were to suddenly turn, his body would not be able to take the load. Fight! Zhou Fu roared, kill! A golden fist struck out, and the branches that were coming at him were broken. However, Zhou Fu's speed had also slowed down. He had to turn around and take the shockwaves head-on. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew past, and Zhou Fu immediately lost his 5 senses. The shockwaves swept up countless things, and under the acceleration of the wind, they became objects that were not weaker than weapons. Clang! 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 Countless attacks hit Zhou Fu continuously. Although he did not appear to be injured, his blood and qi were constantly being hit by these ordinary objects. I can't stand any more. Zhou Fu squinted his eyes and tried his best to keep his body stable. At this moment, a black shadow hit Zhou Fu, and he was immediately swept away by the shockwaves. In the shockwaves, Zhou Fu was blown up and down like duckweed. Fortunately, the information in his mind had stabilized. Otherwise, he felt that he would have vomited. It was unknown how many things he had smashed into. After the shockwave passed, Zhou Fu was slammed into a tree trunk. Crack! The tree trunk broke, and Zhou Fu broke free. Cough, cough! He spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva, took a deep breath, and immediately activated his internal force to heal his injuries. Ding! Wisdom King Scripture has successfully leveled up. Current level, Level 7. Wisdom King Scripture, Level 7, Akala Dharma, Akala Physique, Dharma. Demon Subduing, Light of Wisdom. There's an additional Light of Wisdom compared to Level 6. This Light of Wisdom should be the reason for the large amount of information in my mind. However, this change is too little. Zhou Fu looked at the stats board while healing his injuries. Akala Dharma, he understood this. Demon Subduing, it had a high probability of being able to cultivate demonic arts. As for Light of Wisdom, Zhou Fu guessed that it improved his memory and perception. The thing that confused him the most was the Akala Physique. He had no clue about it at all. Boom! Boom! The feeling of the earth shaking came from afar. Zhou Fu stood up and saw the person who attacked him floating in the air. In that person's hand there were 18 threads that connected to 18 giant tree demons on the ground. They were walking towards him. Chapter 237. Feeling the tremors under his feet, Zhou Fu thought of retreating for the time being. If I can't win, I'll retreat first. Upgrading the scripture of the enlightened king is already the biggest reward. I'll come back after I've recovered. At this moment, Zhou Fu didn't want to fight with his opponent. The benefits were too low. After all, even if he killed his opponent, he would only gain some cool energy. The price he would have to pay was at least serious injuries. This was still thinking on the bright side. If he couldn't win, it would be interesting. After thinking of a plan, Zhou Fu didn't hesitate. He turned and ran away. However, just as Zhou Fu turned, a green light flashed on his back. The light was so weak that Zhou Fu didn't even notice it. Outsider! Mu Yu's voice sounded again. I didn't expect you to still be alive. You're really lucky. However, I don't know if you'll be so lucky next time. Mu Yu, who was floating in the sky, noticed Zhou Fu's movement and deduced that he wanted to leave. She snorted. Leave? In your dreams. You killed so many of my people today and you still want to leave? Dream on. Mu Yu roared. Her body flashed with green light. Countless light spots floated from her body and scattered into the forest around Zhou Fu. Those light spots fell and quickly merged with the plant. Not good. The scene in front of him shocked Zhou Fu. He hurriedly activated his inner strength, but it was too late. After the surrounding plants absorbed the green light spots, they first grew wildly and then attacked Zhou Fu. Facing attacks from all directions, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with a cold light. He snorted. If that's the case, I'll try out the skills I've just learned. After upgrading the scripture of the enlightened king, he understood some move. The Dharma in his mind suddenly disappeared. A majestic aura rose from Zhou Fu's body. In his left hand, there was suddenly a chain that emitted a golden light and was accompanied by a hot aura. Whoosh! Zhou Fu raised his left hand and the chain unfurled in the air. A layer of flames rose from the chain. Zhou Fu was very familiar with the aura of the flame. It was the aura of the great sun True Qi. Whoosh! Zhou Fu swung the chain in his hand and began to roast it. After clearing the obstacles, Zhou Fu stopped in his tracks and turned his head in confusion. The powerful pressure from behind seemed to have lessened by quite a bit. What's going on? Could it be that it was the kind of attack that would damage the enemy by 1,000 but damage the user by 800? Zhou Fu couldn't help but struggle in his heart. If it was really as he thought, then he could counterattack. Out of caution, Zhou Fu continued to run. However, he slowed down quite a bit in order to sense the situation of the enemy behind him. Mu Yu, who was chasing after Zhou Fu, was in a bad state. Even the green light on her body had dimmed and she looked tired. This won't do. I haven't recovered my strength yet. Moreover, I broke the seal early and my soul was injured. Even that move just now made me feel a little weak. Mu Yu looked down at Zhou Fu's running figure and thought, if I let him go today, I'm afraid I won't have peace in the future. I must keep him here. Her thoughts churned and a light flashed in her eyes. Since he absorbed the spiritual energy of our clansman, perhaps. As if thinking of something, Mu Yu's face became slightly excited. If that's really the case, then my loss this time was worth it. Mu Yu's face flashed with a resolute expression. She suddenly separated the ball of light in her hand. At this moment, she was holding 9 threads in each hand. Go! With a wave of her hands, 18 shadows fell around Zhou Fu. Kacha! Kacha! Thick vines spread out from the shadows, and in an instant, a black circular wall appeared. Zhou Fu was surrounded in the middle. Mu Yu's face suddenly paled, and the light on her body trembled as if it would be extinguished at any time. It's time to end this quickly. Zhou Fu looked up at the sky and saw a young girl with green light all over her body. No, it was the mother tree demon. Outsider, since you've destroyed my village, I'll turn you into a monster. Zhou Fu looked at the tree demon 3 feet away from him vigilantly. He thought to himself, it's a big boss, and it has a name. And what is a demon? A kind of puppet? Although he was surprised, Zhou Fu was not stunned. He knew the principle of capturing the leader first. After a short period of healing, although his injuries were not completely healed, they were almost healed. At this moment, seeing the tree demon close the distance between him and himself, he swung the chain in his hand. Humph! When Mu Yu saw Zhou Fu make his move, she snorted coldly. With a tug of her hands, the green thread in her hands tightened, and she dodged the chain that was whipping towards her. Let's see how long you can hold on. Mu Yu's eyes flashed coldly. She did not believe that Zhou Fu was unharmed. He must be fighting with the pain in his body. Roar! With a roar, Zhou Fu saw 18 black tree demons rushing towards him. Good, you guys can practice. Before he upgraded the Wisdom King scripture, these tree demons were just monsters that gave him experience. Although he was injured now, the surging power in his body was not fake. Crash! Zhou Fu swung the chain in his hand, and in a flash of lightning, it wrapped around a tree demon's branch. With a sudden burst of strength in his arm, Zhou Fu leaped into the air, and quickly arrived in front of the tree demon. Kill! He punched out with his right fist, and with a bang, a big hole appeared in the tree demon's trunk. Roar! Amidst the panicked and painful roar, the tree demon exploded. The light green threads that were connected to the tree demon also broke instantly. Mu Yu, who was floating in the air, paled, and the coldness on her face increased. Kill him! The remaining 17 threads in her hand vibrated one after another, and the tree demons on the ground also waved their hard branches at Zhou Fu. At the same time, the tree roots that were as sharp as spears pierced through the ground, restricting Zhou Fu's range of movement. As time passed, Mu Yu's aura became more and more weak. Under the siege of the tree demons, Zhou Fu was not only unharmed, but the range of his counterattacks was also getting stronger. Seeing this, Mu Yu was shocked and angry, and a trace of panic appeared in her heart. Is this person a monster? Mu Yu stared at Zhou Fu's figure angrily as he dodged the attacks. No, I can't let this drag on any longer. A determined look appeared in her eyes, as if she had made some important decision. A green light bloomed, and a ball of light floated out from Mu Yu's body. Go! On the ground, Zhou Fu felt something and suddenly raised his head. What is this thing? A strong sense of danger rose in his heart. Dodge! Facing the branches, he did not continue to dodge, but took the attack head-on and turned to run. Run? Do you think you can run? Mu Yu's face was deathly pale as she watched Zhou Fu being stopped by the 17 treants with their lives on the line. Seeing that there was no hope of dodging, Zhou Fu's body burst with golden light and punched through a tree demon. At the same time, he waved the chain and lashed out. Boom! Ancestral Hall. Zhang Yao looked in the direction of the loud noise and the light blooming in the night sky and murmured, Good guy. He even used the wood spirit explosion. This bastard Zhou Fu is really terrifying, but it's just what I want. Crack! He turned his head and looked at the stone statue beside him. The cracks on the stone statue had deepened, giving a feeling that it would shatter at any time. Good! Good! Zhang Yao's face was wild with joy. Zhou Fu, work harder. In the field, Zhou Fu staggered out of the pit, the golden light on his body dimmed a lot. His clothes were torn, and there were bloodstains on his exposed skin. The chain in his hand was also broken, and he could not summon it for a while. What a powerful move! In a flash, Zhou Fu arrived in front of the struggling tree demon and killed it with a punch. Then, he quietly absorbed the spiritual energy that drifted out. Bastard! Mu Yu gritted her teeth and stared at Zhou Fu. He dared to kill her people in front of her and absorb their spiritual energy. Die! She waved her right hand and 2 green lights shot out. Zhou Fu sneered and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. How many times have you said this sentence? Don't you find it annoying? The green light passed through Zhou Fu's figure, and 2 holes appeared on the ground behind him. Zhou Fu appeared next to another tree demon. Mu Yu's move just now had crippled all the tree demons that surrounded Zhou Fu. At this moment they were all lying on the ground. For Zhou Fu, they were ready-made healing medicine. Seeing Zhou Fu kill another tree demon, Mu Yu couldn't help but rush toward Zhou Fu. Stop! Her palms flashed with green light, and a long sword appeared. Then she stabbed toward Zhou Fu's temple. You finally came down. Zhou Fu turned his head and looked at Mu Yu, who was rushing towards him. He grinned and threw out a punch. Golden fist light collided with her. Bang! Both of them were sent flying backward. Zhou Fu borrowed the momentum to approach one of the tree demons. Amidst the tree demon's desperate roar, Zhou Fu punched his fist into the tree trunk. Then, a surge of power erupted, instantly tearing the already broken trunk apart. Seeing this scene, Mu Yu trembled with anger. She kept rushing toward Zhou Fu, but the opponent's strength was too strong. Every time, the 2 of them retreated. No, Zhou Fu should be retreating on purpose. After more than 10 moves, there were only 5 tree demons left on the ground. They could see that Mu Yu couldn't take down Zhou Fu in a short time, so they could only be the ones injured. Thus, the remaining tree demons supported each other and ran away despite their heavy injuries. Along the way, broken wood was scattered all over the ground. Mu Yu roared at the sky. When she looked at Zhou Fu again, 2 streams of tears flowed from her eyes. I, Mu Yu, have lived for 300 years, and this is the first time I want to kill someone so badly. You are very good. 300 years. Zhou Fu was stunned for a moment, but on second thought, there was no problem. After all, she was a demon, and a tree demon at that. It was normal for her to live longer. 300 years is all you've got? Zhou Fu sneered. What do you know? Mu Yu said coldly. If I hadn't been schemed against by you sinister human villains, would I be as arrogant as you today? The more Mu Yu spoke, the angrier she became. What happened back then, and what happened today, all surfaced in her mind. Zhou Fu shook his head. You were schemed against. That's your problem. What does it have to do with me? You killed my people and extracted their spiritual energy. Today I will let you know what pain is. Extract spiritual energy? Zhou Fu was stunned. Was she talking about the cooling energy that nourished his body? So it was called spiritual energy. Mu Yu's figure rose into the air again, pulling away from Zhou Fu. The long sword in her hand disappeared, and then, a disc emitting a green light floated in front of her. She glared at Zhou Fu angrily, raised her hand and slammed the disc in front of her. Explode! Zhou Fu, who was on full alert, trembled. His face was full of shock. In his body, rays of green light appeared and merged with each other. Then, they turned into small branches and took root in his body. Intense pain came, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on Zhou Fu's forehead. What the hell is this? He hurriedly channeled his inner strength and pressed it against the branches. In midair, Mu Yu's figure swayed, and the disc in her hand disappeared. Her figure also fell. Smack! She lost her balance and fell to the ground. Mu Yu gasped for breath. A branch rose up and propped her weak body up. She closed her eyes and planted the roots deep into the ground, trying to recover the energy in her body. In the ancestral hall. Crack! Bang! More than half of the stone statue shattered. A small tree embedded in the stone was crystal clear, shining brightly. It was very beautiful. Ha 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 ha! Zhou Fu! Amazing! Amazing! Zhang Yao stared at the small green tree and laughed crazily. After a long time, he stopped laughing. Suddenly, he slammed his palm on his chest. With a crack, his sternum broke. A large amount of black blood spurted out from his mouth and splashed on the small tree. Sizzle! The moment the black blood came into contact with the small tree, white smoke rose up. It was like pouring cold water on a red-hot iron. Resist? You still have some strength left. Zhang Yao's expression was ferocious. He spurted out more blood, and soon the small tree was covered in blood. At the same time, his lower body had turned into a tree trunk, and a large number of roots extended out. Whoosh! The roots entwined with each other and wrapped around the small tree. Zhang Yao turned to look at the village and roared, "Kill! Continue to kill!" Boom! The golden light smashed the green light away. Zhou Fu's figure appeared. There were many small wounds on his skin, and blood was constantly oozing out. It was a horrifying sight. "What the hell is this?" Zhou Fu roared angrily. The small branches in his body were very tough. It took a lot of effort to destroy them. Based on the current situation, even if he was hollowed out, he would not be able to destroy them all. There were too many of them. Mu Yu snorted coldly. She looked a lot worse. In order to block Zhou Fu's fist, one of her arms had been broken. What great strength! However, so what if he was strong? If he could not use it, he would be useless. Suddenly, Mu Yu felt a wave of energy that made her heart palpitate. She turned to look at the ancestral hall. She was a little stunned, and her expression was one of disbelief. How dare he bang? A fist shining with golden light sent Mu Yu flying. Zhou Fu chased after her in a flash, and his fists bombarded her continuously. The light on Mu Yu's body trembled, as if it would shatter at any moment. "You dare to be distracted when fighting with me? Go to hell." Cold killing intent filled the air. Zhou Fu's fist shone with golden light. "Ah! Bastard! Stop it!" Under the constant attacks, Mu Yu screamed. "Bastard! You are all bastards!" Through her mind, Mu Yu already knew what was happening. Zhang Yao, who was like a bug in her eyes, was actually devouring her body. Zhou Fu would not wait for her. Facing a strange enemy like Mu Yu, the most important thing was to kill her. Seeing that Zhou Fu did not stop, and that his attacks were getting stronger and stronger, in the distant ancestral hall, the stones on the stone statue shattered even faster. Mu Yu's stomach took a few punches, and the surging force made her mouth and nose bleed. "Bastard, if you don't stop now, both of us will die." Zhou Fu had already noticed that something was wrong with Mu Yu. He thought that it was caused by the exhaustion of energy. Now that he heard her say that, he hesitated for a moment, and then stopped and retreated. Bang! Mu Yu crashed to the ground. She ignored Zhou Fu and rushed toward the ancestral hall in a flash of green light. Chapter 238. Feeling Mu Yu's anger and anxiety, Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. As the saying goes, a man can't be rich without a windfall. Since there's an opportunity, he should take a risk. Feeling the current state of his body, as well as the amount of energy in his yang wheel and sea of qi wheel. If I can fight, then I'll run. Zhou Fu shook his body. The branches that were close to the important parts of his body had been cleared. Although the remaining branches would affect his attacks and dodging to a certain extent, he could still escape. Zhou Fu's feet suddenly exerted force, and he used his movement skill to chase after Mu Yu. Mu Yu, who was rushing ahead, sensed that Zhou Fu had caught up with her. Although she was angry, there was nothing she could do. She could only curse in her heart, "Damn it! All humans should die." At this time, the person she hated the most in her heart had changed from Zhou Fu to Zhang Yao. What made her even angrier was that both of them were humans. Oh, Zhang Yao was a human not long ago. He had only been transformed into a tree demon for a short time, and she had not recognized him as one of her kind. Rushing to the ancestral hall, Mu Yu shot out a green light, and in an instant, the new roof that was covering the stone statue shattered. "Ha ha ha ha! Lord Mu Yu, what a temper!" Zhang Yao's figure walked out of the smoke. Whoosh! Two black lights broke through the ground and pierced towards Mu Yu. "Bastard! Zhang Yao, how dare you!" After seeing Zhang Yao's appearance, Mu Yu trembled with anger. Facing the oncoming attack, she took out a disc and smashed it down. The disc bloomed with a dazzling light, and Zhang Yao's attack was instantly defeated. Not only that, the green light continued to crush Zhang Yao. Lord Muyu, calm down. In a while, we will merge into one. Zhang Yao smiled sinisterly, and stretched out his hand to support a layer of black and green light. Boom! After the disc hit the light, the two types of energy collided with each other, and an explosion occurred. The shockwave caused the ground to shatter, and even the wall behind Zhang Yao that was originally enshrined with the stone statue collapsed. At this time, Zhou Fu landed on the ground. When he saw Zhang Yao's appearance, he was stunned. At this time, Zhang Yao was still in human form, except for half of his face. The rest of his body was made up of black twigs. In the middle of his chest, there was a small green tree. Seeing Zhou Fu coming over, Zhang Yao laughed arrogantly. Ha 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 ha! Isn't this Zhou Fu? Before he finished speaking, a black rattan like a black python, rattan Zhou Fu. I haven't seen you for a long time. Zhou Fu snorted coldly and sent the rattan flying with a punch. He sneered and said, Your appearance is quite peculiar. You don't want to be a human completely? Zhou Fu's heart trembled as he felt the strength coming from the rattan. Why is the strength? A human? You? Mu use you. Zhang Yao's expression became more and more ferocious. Even his voice became hoarse as he spoke. Mu Yu took advantage of Zhang Yao's distraction. The disc in her hand glowed with green light. Her face tensed up, and small green discs appeared around her. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The discs moved, creating streaks of green light in the air. They whistled through the air and crashed towards Zhang Yao. Just before the collision, a layer of light emerged and covered Zhang Yao inside. Master Muyue, why do you have to do this? We'll be fusing soon, said Zhang Yao as he watched the green light explode on the barrier in front of him. Even though the barrier was shaking violently, it couldn't hurt him at all. At the same time, he greedily looked at the disc in Mu Yu's hand and said, Don't waste your energy. Be careful not to break my things. Zhang Yao completely ignored Mu Yu and even treated her things as his own. Mu Yu was so angry that she roared at the sky. Seeing that Zhang Yao's light barrier didn't break under Mu Yu's attack, Zhou Fu was curious. Was it really that hard? He wanted to try. With a flash of golden light, Zhou Fu rushed to Zhang Yao's side. He raised his fist and smashed it down. Bang! In front of Zhang Yao's shocked eyes, the light shield in front of him suddenly caved in, but the light shield was still there. It did not break. It's that hard? It didn't break? Zhou Fu retracted his fist and looked at the light barrier in a daze. Seeing that Zhou Fu had retreated, Zhang Yao subconsciously felt that his mouth was dry. He wanted to swallow his saliva, but he didn't have a human body. There was no way he could swallow his saliva. Even so, he still subconsciously swallowed his saliva. What do you want? After seeing Zhou Fu's strength, Zhang Yao suddenly didn't have much confidence. Nothing. I just saw that this thing was really hard and wanted to give it a try. Zhang Yao was speechless. You must be bored. Aren't you injured? Why don't you leave before I attack you? Zhou Fu, I didn't expect you to be so arrogant today. Zhang Yao's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't let Zhou Fu team up with Mu Yu. After all, Zhou Fu didn't have a bottom line. He was so strong back then, but he still came to deal with their family of 3. He was shameless. He had to get rid of him. He said fiercely, Zhou Fu, you're still injured, right? If you want to die, I'll kill you even if I lose a third of my wood spirit. Facing the threat, Zhou Fu wasn't moved. Instead, he was more interested in the wood spirit. He pointed at the small tree on Zhang Yao's chest and asked, This thing is the wood spirit you speak of? Is it important? Before Zhang Yao could say anything, Mu Yu couldn't take it anymore. What did he mean by yours and his? It was clearly hers. No, it was only after the current Mu Yu fused with the wood spirit that she became a complete Mu Yu. The Mu Yu standing here now was only Mu Yu's main body and part of her wood spirit. Looking at the two humans she loathed, Mu Yu snorted, That's right, that was my wood spirit, and now it's been stolen by this shameless thief. Zhang Yao laughed. Lord Mu Yu is wrong. What do you mean by yours, and mine? In a while we won't be talking about yours. Before he could finish, he saw a flash of golden light from the corner of his eyes. He stopped talking and looked at Zhou Fu with vigilance. Why are you spouting so much nonsense? Who cares if it works or not? I just want to see how hard this tortoise shell on your body is. Zhou Fu's figure flashed and punched again. When the fist collided with the light barrier, Zhou Fu's terrifying power instantly exploded out, causing the air barrier to cave in once again. This time, the extent of the impact was even more exaggerated. Circles of white ripples formed and started to vibrate. Zhang Yao looked at the fist that was right in front of him. His entire being was stunned. If Zhou Fu's strength had been just a bit stronger, it would have hit him in the face. In addition to being shocked, Zhang Yao also felt very angry. He roared, and the ground around him shattered. Black tree roots broke out of the ground and stabbed towards Zhou Fu. After another fruitless attack, Zhou Fu retreated. Zhou Fu, do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Zhang Yao roared. Zhou Fu shrugged. This thing is really hard. I can't break it. You guys have fun. I'm leaving. Zhou Fu didn't want to participate in what happened next, mainly because there was nothing to gain. Just as Zhou Fu was about to turn around, Mu Yu spoke. I see that you and Zhang Yao are enemies, right? If you leave now, aren't you afraid that he will take revenge? Zhou Fu looked at Mu Yu. He knew what she was thinking. She just wanted to use him to get rid of Zhang Yao. He smiled and said, You're right. I do have a deep grudge with Zhang Yao, but so what? Zhang Yao and Mu Yu were stunned. Zhou Fu said, Even if Zhang Yao's plan succeeds and his strength increases, I am no match for him. So what? Can he still go out and hunt me down? Zhang Yao looked at Zhou Fu in surprise. Mu Yu trembled. Although I don't know what happened between you strange creatures and the current government, I can guess. You can't just go out, right? As Zhou Fu spoke, Mu Yu's expression darkened. Zhang Yao looked at Mu Yu. Zhou Fu continued, If Zhang Yao was human, maybe I would have a headache or run away. But he's just a demon now. Let him go to Ning An City and try. If he can reach the city gate, I'll consider him strong. Before, he was weak and didn't do anything out of line. But now, it's different. His strength is about to increase. Naturally, he can't be allowed to do anything. Mu Yu was silent. A panicked expression appeared on Zhang Yao's face. He had become like this for the sake of power. Couldn't he take revenge with his own hands? Mu Yu, is what he said true? Mu Yu's face was gloomy. Seeing that she couldn't deceive Zhou Fu, she nodded angrily and said with a gloating tone, Yes, what Zhou Fu said is true. Even if you devour my wood spirit, you won't be able to walk out of this village, let alone take revenge. Why? Zhang Yao roared when he got the answer. His power burst out uncontrollably, and circles of shock waves shattered the debris around him. Why? Mu Yu sneered. Because there are many people outside who can kill you. Is that reason enough? The straightforward answer made Zhang Yao's face turn hideous. He couldn't understand or accept it. Seeing Zhang Yao showing signs of madness, Mu Yu continued to provoke him. What's the use of being angry? Even when I was at my peak, I didn't dare to do anything. It's good enough that I can guard this village. You want to go out and take revenge? Ha! Dream on. Seeing Zhang Yao roar, Mu Yu laughed very happily. Zhou Fu shrugged. He didn't want to watch the show. After all, the branches in his body hadn't been cleaned out. Alright, it's getting late. A young person like me can't stay up late. Otherwise, it'll hurt my body. I'm leaving. Seeing that Zhou Fu was about to turn and leave, Mu Yu was secretly anxious. If Zhou Fu left, she would definitely die today. So, she rolled her eyes and a plan came to her mind. She called out to Zhou Fu again, Zhou Fu, do you want to make a deal? Chapter 239. A deal. Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Mu Yu. Interesting. Tell me. From Zhou Fu's expression, Mu Yu could see that he was interested. She was happy and resentful at the same time. She was happy because she saw a glimmer of hope. She was resentful because today's situation could be said to be caused by Zhou Fu, and she had to pay a large sum of money for it. The injury in your body was caused by the explosion of would attribute spiritual energy. I can cure it for you as long as you. What are you doing? Before Mu Yu could finish her words, she saw Zhou Fu turn around and leave. She was shocked and hurriedly shouted. Zhou Fu looked at Mu Yu with a sinister smile and said, "Rather than calling this a deal, it's better to say that you're buying your life with money. If you don't show some sincerity, I have to go back to sleep. I won't waste time here." You. Mu Yu stared at Zhou Fu angrily. At this time, the joy in her heart disappeared, leaving only hatred. Although she didn't want to admit it, Zhou Fu was telling the truth. "What do you want?" Finally, Mu Yu squeezed out these words from between her teeth. Looking at the expression of the enemy who had just beaten him up so badly, Zhou Fu felt quite comfortable. "You were the one who stopped me. Don't look like I'm threatening you." Mu Yu suppressed the anger in her heart. Her mind was spinning crazily, calculating what she could take out. On the one hand, she wanted to satisfy Zhou Fu. On the other hand, she wanted to minimize her losses as much as possible. "Zhou Fu," Zhang Yao spoke up after everyone had quietened down. "I don't want to say this, but Mu Yu doesn't have anything good on her now. You can go back now." As Zhang Yao spoke, Mu Yu grew anxious. Zhou Fu, who had been paying attention to the expressions of the two, was overjoyed. This Zhang Yao was something. He almost put the word teammate on his head. Mu Yu was anxious. Suddenly, a light flashed in her heart. She really did have something to take out, but when she was about to say it, she hesitated. Although that thing was dispensable to Mu Yu, it wasn't the same for Zhou Fu. If she gave that thing away, wouldn't Zhou Fu kill her after killing Zhang Yao? At this time, Mu Yu's expression changed, and Zhou Fu saw it. Could it be that there was something good in the hands of this tree demon? If there was something good, why didn't she use it to kill him? Or kill Zhang Yao now? Seeing Mu Yu was still hesitating, Zhou Fu said to Zhang Yao, "Maybe, but what can you do? If it was really something good, why didn't you use it?" "He's Zhang Yao?" Hearing that Zhou Fu was going to leave, Zhang Yao was happy at first, but when he heard that Zhou Fu would not see him again, his mood fell again. His family was gone, and he had abandoned his identity as a human. Now that he had the power, he couldn't take revenge. This made him very uncomfortable and confused. The Book of Martial Arts. Seeing Zhou Fu's surprised look, Mu Yu hesitated for a moment, and her eyes flashed. Zhou Fu took 2 steps back and looked at Mu Yu vigilantly. At this time, Mu Yu's voice sounded in his ear, "Zhou Fu, don't be nervous. There are some things that you can't let Zhang Yao know. Later, I will use the communication method to send you some information about the Book of Martial Arts. As for whether it is worth it or not, you can decide for yourself." As soon as her voice disappeared, a green light shot towards Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. He thought for a moment and chose to believe her. The moment the light came into contact with Zhou Fu, a message appeared in his mind. Zhou Fu, who was shocked by Mu Yu's silent voice transmission method and communication method, read the message. After reading the message, his calm expression surged like a huge wave. "This thing? How can there be such a thing?" Zhou Fu was so excited that he wanted to shout, but he held it back. He glanced at Mu Yu and found that the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, and she looked very confident. However, Zhou Fu guessed that although Mu Yu knew about the value of the Book of Martial Arts, she didn't know how important it was to him. The so-called Book of Martial Arts was not a profound martial arts secret manual, but a teaching method of martial arts. It was full of ideas and summaries of concept. The incomplete message that Mu Yu sent just happened to correspond to the problem that Zhou Fu was facing, which was the use of sure. Zhou Fu digested the information and said, "This thing is not bad. Where did you get it? Seeing that Zhou Fu was interested, the corners of Mu Yu's mouth curled up. She said, You don't need to know where I got it. How about it? What do you think of this deal? Zhou Fu smiled. Do I have a reason to refuse? Zhang Yao, who was listening to the conversation, was shocked. Although he didn't know what Mu Yu had paid, it must be very precious. No, I have to break up their cooperation. After Zhang Yao made up his mind, he said to Zhou Fu, do you really want to get involved in this mess? Seeing Zhou Fu turn around, he continued, You just said that the enmity between us is over. I can't go out and you won't come back. We'll mind our own business. What else do you want? Zhou Fu thought for a moment and nodded at Zhang Yao, agreeing with his words. Then he said to Mu Yu, you heard it. Zhang Yao's words are reasonable. Hearing Zhou Fu's words, Mu Yu's face became gloomy. She cursed in her heart, Bastard, this damn Zhou Fu, he's threatening me. He wants me to take out more things. So she asked in a deep voice, What do you want? Let me tell you, even if Zhang Yao succeeds today, he won't know about those things. She wanted to let Zhou Fu know that she was the only one who knew about the Book of Martial Arts. If she died, there would be nothing left. Zhou Fu certainly understood Mu Yu's thoughts, and he was very sure that Zhang Yao wouldn't give it to him even if he got it. Even if he gave it to him, whether the content was real or not was a problem. Zhou Fu said, There's no problem with the deal. Give me a complete copy of that thing. Impossible. What if you turn around and leave after I give it to you? Mu Yu refused on the spot. If you want it, we can work together to kill Zhang Yao. Work together. Zhou Fu sneered. At the same time, he raised his hand and broke a branch that was whipping towards him with a punch. What can you do with your current strength? If you give it to me, I might be able to comprehend something and then break that barrier. Then Zhou Fu turned to look at the gloomy Zhang Yao and said, Don't worry, I'll find you after I finish talking with Mu Yu. Zhou Fu, you deserve to die. Zhang Yao's eyes were about to burst with anger. Even when he was forced to escape from Ning'an City, he didn't hate Zhou Fu so much. But there was nothing he could do. With his current strength, he couldn't kill Zhou Fu. Holding back his anger, Zhang Yao crazily urged his strength to speed up the devouring of the small tree in his chest. Mu Yu, who was on the side, also felt a little anxious. She couldn't just wait like this. Otherwise, even if she killed Zhang Yao and took back the wood spirit, her vitality would be greatly damaged. At that time, there would be a covetous Zhou Fu next to her. The situation wouldn't be any better than now. Among the three, Zhou Fu was the least anxious. Not only was he in a good mood, but he also took advantage of the time to absorb some of the contents of the Book of Martial Arts. The information that Mu Yu sent him just now was about Shi. The Book of Martial Arts was a textbook that clearly described the origin and development of Shi. In the middle, there were some summaries of concepts, and at the end, there were suggestions for further development. The information that Mu Yu sent to Zhou Fu was about development, and that was it. Learning new knowledge gave Zhou Fu a new idea about his own state. He raised his hand and a golden light flashed. Then, the light slowly converged and faded. Then, it tightly adhered to the surface of Zhou Fu's skin. His entire arm seemed to be cast in gold. Interesting. Looking at the changes in his arm, Zhou Fu's face revealed a smile. He could clearly feel that his arm was stronger than before. Is this the power of knowledge? Zhou Fu muttered to himself. The two people on the side looked at Zhou Fu's change in amazement. They looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Zhang Yao's expression changed when he saw the change in Zhou Fu. Then, he connected it to the conversation between Mu Yu and Zhou Fu. He had already guessed that the deal that Mu Yu wanted to make with Zhou Fu was the reason for Zhou Fu's change. No, I can't let the deal continue. Otherwise, I'll be in trouble. Zhang Yao's heart steeled. In these few minutes, his strength had increased again, so he decided to take the initiative. Die. Zhang Yao's eyes were filled with killing intent. With a wave of his hand, a black light broke through the ground and shot towards Zhou Fu. The sudden change woke Mu Yu up. "Be careful!" As she shouted, the black light had already arrived in front of Zhou Fu. Mu Yu was very anxious and even wanted to go to the rescue. Seeing that the attack was about to land on Zhou Fu, a cruel smile appeared on Zhang Yao's face. "Pa!" There was a crisp sound. The black light was caught by a golden arm. "Zhang Yao, are you in such a hurry to die?" Zhou Fu's cold gaze pierced Zhang Yao. Zhang Yao looked at the tree root in shock. You've become stronger again? How is that possible?" The power of the black light was at least 3 times stronger than when Zhou Fu and Mu Yu had just arrived at the ancestral hall. According to Zhou Fu's previous performance, even if it couldn't hurt him, it should have been able to force Zhou Fu back. However, neither of those things happened. Become stronger? Zhou Fu shook his head. It's not that easy. I already have this power, but He didn't continue and turned to Mu Yu. Mu Yu, what do you think? Chapter 240. What should she choose? Mu Yu looked at Zhou Fu without saying a word. She was still calculating the gains and losses in her heart. She was a little regretful now. She did not expect that the information transmitted as a sample would change Zhou Fu so much. To give or not to give? In the silent atmosphere, Zhang Yao could no longer hold it in. Looking at Zhou Fu's golden arm, he did not dare to let Zhou Fu and Mu Yu continue to trade in secret. Otherwise, who knew what would happen later? Pa pa pa. A series of explosions sounded in the air. 5 black tree roots broke through the ground and whipped towards Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu's palm suddenly exerted force. With a bang, the tree root in his hand exploded, and the rest of it quickly retracted. Facing the overwhelming attack, his feet constantly moved, flashing back and forth between the tree root. At the same time, his other arm also turned golden. The golden palms continued to bombard the tree roots, and surging waves of power burst out. After dozens of attacks, the tree roots were all broken, and Zhou Fu was not hurt at all. Mu Yu, Zhou Fu shouted, have you thought about it? My patience is limited. Zhou Fu. Without waiting for Mu Yu to speak, Zhang Yao was furious. He thought that he was Zhou Fu's opponent, but the latter actually treated him like air. This made Zhang Yao, who hated Zhou Fu to the core, even more unbearable. You bastard, you are still so arrogant. Zhang Yao's eyes turned black and red, and his body continued to grow. The half of his face that was originally human quickly turned into that of a tree demon. At this moment, he no longer looked human. Dong dong. The small green tree embedded in Zhang Yao's chest suddenly shook like a beating heart, and it even emitted a circle of transparent ripples. Looking down at Zhou Fu and Mu Yu, Zhang Yao spoke. His voice was extremely hoarse, like wood scraping against each other. It was very uncomfortable. Zhou Fu, I should thank you. If you didn't force me, I might not have been able to devour the wood spirit so quickly. Zhang Yao's tone suddenly revealed a hint of joy. Also, there seems to be a problem with your cultivation method. Apart from Zhou Fu's arms, the other parts of his body didn't stop emitting light. Zhou Fu still ignored Zhang Yao, even though Zhang Yao's strength seemed to have increased a lot. He said to Mu Yu, look, even Zhang Yao saw it. What are you still hesitating for? I'm taking your things and doing your thing. If you can't even understand this, then I don't have to. Mu Yu opened her mouth in shock. According to what Zhou Fu said, that was indeed the case. He did take her things, and did he do what he wanted. However, even though he thought so, he still felt that something was off. 10 breaths. If you don't give me an answer in 10 breaths, then I'll take my leave. Zhou Fu said coldly, then dodged the attack from the sky. You want to leave? Zhang Yao, who was in the sky, was unhappy. Now the other party didn't even take him seriously. Zhou Fu, where do you think this is? Do you think you can come and go as you please? Today, neither of you can leave. The attack emitting a black light came again. From the sound of it breaking through the air, Zhou Fu sensed that Zhang Yao's strength had increased again. She improved so quickly. Zhou Fu was still secretly shocked. At this rate, he would only be able to run for his life in another 10 minutes. After dodging 3 attacks, Zhou Fu saw that Mu Yu was still hesitating. He snorted coldly, "Mu Yu, time's up." Mu Yu, who was reminded, trembled. First, she looked up at Zhang Yao, her eyes filled with crazy hatred. Then, she turned to Zhou Fu, her eyes filled with unwillingness. "I'll give it to you." The green light flashed again, and Zhou Fu got the information he wanted. Seeing the two of them trading unscrupulously under his nose, Zhang Yao roared, "Zhou Fu! Even if you got it, so what? I don't believe you can soar to the sky in such a short time. Die." More than 10 roots with black light came out from the bottom of the trunk under Zhang Yao and whipped down with great force. A golden light flashed in Zhou Fu's eyes as he felt the pressure coming from above his head. He said with a mocking expression, "Knowledge is power. Perhaps you will never understand this sentence." A shadow flashed, and Zhang Yao's attack came down. Boom! Under the whipping of the tree branches, the stone tiles of the ancestral hall suddenly shattered. Zhou Fu appeared again and stepped on a root. He murmured, "It's still too short. If only I had 10 more minutes." Mu Yu, who had been paying attention to Zhou Fu's condition, heard Zhou Fu's murmur. Although she didn't know how long 10 minutes was, she knew clearly that if she delayed any longer, she would be dead for sure. "Zhou Fu!" Mu Yu shouted, "In another 15 minutes, Zhang Yao will be able to devour my wood spirit. By then, his strength will increase to extraordinary level 3, and I'll be dead for sure. But you can't leave either." A determined look appeared in Mu Yu's eyes. She gritted her teeth, took out the green disc again, and raised it high. Dazzling light bloomed from Mu Yu's body. Even the wood spirit in Zhang Yao's chest was flowing energy to Mu Yu. "What are you doing? This is all mine." Zhang Yao roared in exasperation. He had already regarded the wood spirit as his own. Now that he felt that Mu Yu could still extract energy from it, he was shocked and angry. "Mu Yu, you're courting death." The light on Mu Yu's body became more and more dazzling. She also heard Zhang Yao's roar. She said coldly, "Die? Haha, if the two of you don't come out on top today, neither of you can leave." The light on her body suddenly surged toward the disc in her hand. She shouted, "Soul Wood Chain." She slammed her hands on the ground. Rumble! The ground shook. With the disc as the center, lines emitting green light appeared on the ground. In an instant, the entire village was enveloped. At the same time, 2 marks formed in the void and rushed into Zhou Fu and Zhang Yao's bodies. "Mu Yu, what did you do?" Black light flowed all over Zhang Yao's body as he searched for the strange mark. However, no matter how hard he searched, he couldn't find it. Zhou Fu's face was also gloomy. He didn't even care about absorbing the knowledge of the book of martial art. He also searched for abnormalities in his body, but the result was the same. He couldn't find anything wrong. At this time, Mu Yu's face was extremely pale. There was no trace of blood. Even the light on her body had faded. Her body was on the verge of collapse, and she could fall at any time. However, on her face, there was a look of vengeance. "Ha ha ha ha! You too!" Mu Yu stretched out her trembling hand and pointed at Zhang Yao and Zhou Fu. "What are you laughing about? Go to hell, bitch!" Zhang Yao roared. The black tree root tore through the air and attacked. Zhou Fu's eyes moved slightly. He stood still in the same place. Bang! The tree root passed through Mu Yu and hit the ground with a bang. However, the ground was still intact. Zhou Fu's face revealed a strange expression. He had clearly seen the tree root pass through Mu Yu's body. It was as if it had passed through the void, and then it hit the ground. Mu Yu looked at Zhang Yao with a mocking smile. "Impossible!" Zhang Yao roared. He couldn't believe what was happening. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The sound of breaking air rang out. A group of tree roots connected together and attacked Mu Yu. Even the tree roots that attacked Zhou Fu were mixed in. Boom! Sure enough, the large group of tree roots still hit the ground. Apart from the sound being louder than before, there was no difference. What kind of sorcery is this? Zhang Yao's face showed a look of horror. The situation in front of him was beyond his understanding. Sorcery? I am a member of the spiritual wood tribe. I am what you call a tree demon. So what if I know some sorcery? Mu Yu mocked. As for what happened, of course I will tell you. At this time, Zhou Fu's expression changed. He suddenly rose into the air. In a short time, Zhou Fu had changed several places. However, every time he changed places, his face turned uglier. Mu Yu turned to look at Zhou Fu and sneered, "Don't waste your energy. This is the soul wood chain. The two parties connected by the chain will extract the power of the weaker party, convert it through the formation, and then transfer it to the stronger party until one of them dies." After hearing Mu Yu's explanation, Zhou Fu stopped and frowned. "So I am the weak party?" At this moment, Zhang Yao landed on the ground and laughed maniacally. He could feel a surge of pure energy entering his body. "Ha ha ha ha! Zhou Fu, you also have a day like this." Zhang Yao laughed very happily. Even the branches on his body began to shake. "I told you to leave just now, but you didn't. You insisted on making a deal with Mu Yu. Now you have beaten yourself into it. A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant," Zhang Yao said and laughed wildly. Then, he looked at Zhou Fu fiercely. "This is the price of greed. Strength is not fixed." Mu Yu said, "Injuries can also make the strong party the weak party." What a sinister method! After Mu Yu's explanation and his own situation, Zhou Fu instantly understood his situation. No matter what, Zhang Yao must die today. With a flash of golden light, he instantly appeared beside Zhang Yao. His golden arms were like two large spears and suddenly stabbed at Zhang Yao. Boom! The light shield shook. Zhang Yao's face changed dramatically. His eyes widened. After seeing the attacker, he sneered. "What's the matter? You're anxious now? When you imprisoned my family, did you think you would have a day like this?" Zhou Fu ignored him. In order to not let his strength continue to drain, he no longer held back. "Kill!" With a thunderous voice, his golden right arm suddenly struck out. The originally abnormally strong light shield was instantly covered with cracks. Then, with a bang, it exploded. How? Before Zhang Yao's sneer fell, the situation in front of him made his expression freeze. Chapter 241. Impossible! Zhou Fu sneered and punched Zhang Yao's head. The huge force instantly smashed Zhang Yao's head into pieces and sent him flying. "I was in a good mood just now and wanted to play house with you. King took it seriously." Zhou Fuyan got up and caught up with Zhang Yao in an instant. His pair of golden fists kept bombarding Zhang Yao's body with violent attack. Boom! After dozens of punches, Zhang Yao had lost a lot of weight and looked like a normal person. Even so, Zhang Yao still took more than 10 punches from Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu punched Zhang Yao and sent him flying. Bang bang bang! After Zhang Yao landed, he kept rolling until the force of the punches dissipated. Zhou Fu! Zhang Yao stood up. The black light on his body surged and branches wrapped around his body again. "You're just SOSO. At this time, Mu Yu said to Zhou Fu, "What you're doing is useless. You can only break the connection between Zhang Yao and the wood spirit. Then, you can destroy his body and finally destroy his wood spirit. Only then can you truly kill him." A wave of dizziness came and Mu Yu's body swayed twice before falling to the ground. However, she did not panic and continued to say to Zhou Fu, "Your current attack will only increase the speed at which he absorbs the wood spirit." At the same time, Zhou Fu's face became even worse. He just felt a surge of energy coming from his feet. However, in the next moment, he found that the energy in his body began to drain away. Was this King joke? What the hell was that wood spirit? Zhou Fu's eyes flashed coldly. He said in a deep voice, Mu Yu, tell me the method of absorbing wood spirit. Mu Yu was stunned for a moment and immediately refused. Impossible. Zhou Fu, don't even think about it. What kind of joke was this? How could such a thing come from the mouth of a wood spirit? What was he trying to do? Was he trying to force her to betray her race? Cut the crap. Zhou Fu coldly snorted. Those damn things in my body can't make me use my full strength. You don't think it's easy for me to deal with Zhang Yao, do you? Mu Yu hesitated, her face full of struggle. Hurry up. Zhou Fu dodged the two attacks and rushed towards Zhang Yao. His golden fist once again sent Zhang Yao flying. Seizing the opportunity, he flashed to Zhang Yao's side and stepped on his body. With his 5 fingers spread open, he stabbed towards the wood spirit in Zhang Yao's chest. Bang! Wood chips flew everywhere. Layer after layer of branches slid rapidly, blocking Zhou Fu's fingers. Zhou Fu looked angrily at the small green tree that was only 10 centimeters away from him. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move any further. Ha 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 ha! Zhang Yao cackled. Zhou Fu, so what if I can't beat you? You're still going to die. After the previous round of attacks, Zhou Fu's energy was no longer drained. However, he knew that this was only temporary. Zhang Yao's energy would recover soon, and he would be weakened again. What the hell is this? Zhou Fu roared in anger. A scorching aura was emitted from his arm. The great Sun Jin Qi was activated. A fist smashed down. Boom. Sizzle. The branches surrounding Zhang Yao were set ablaze. Before Zhou Fu could relax, the black and green lights on the branches began to swirl. The flames were extinguished in an instant, leaving behind only a few wisps of black smoke. Zhang Yao, with a painful expression, suddenly shouted, Zhou Fu! I can feel it! You have wood spirit in your body! Ha 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 ha! Explode! The green light flashed. Zhou Fu's expression suddenly changed. The small branches in his body had gone berserk. Fortunately, Zhou Fu had already removed the small branches in the important parts of his body. Otherwise, he would have suffered greatly. The golden light on Zhou Fu's body flashed and suppressed the small branches that were going berserk. That's King ridiculous. Zhou Fu kicked Zhang Yao and sent him flying. He turned to Mu Yu and said, As you can see, I'm in danger now. Then, he stepped on the ground and asked, If I don't kill Zhang Yao, I really can't leave? Mu Yu, who was thinking about whether to teach Zhou Fu the way to absorb wood spirit, heard Zhou Fu's question and sneered. Don't even think about it. This formation is a special spell of the wood spirit race. Moreover, it's made with the aquamarine moon disk. If you deliberately escape, the energy in your body will be drained faster. Naturally, you'll die faster. Moreover, even if you escape, the mark in your body will transform into a kind of lethal poison. It's about the strength of extraordinary level 4. In other words, if you have the strength beyond extraordinary level 4 now, you can naturally leave. No one can stop you. Looking at Mu Yu's mocking smile, Zhou Fu really wanted to beat her up. What kind of joke was this? If he had the strength of extraordinary level 4 now, Mu Yu, Zhang Yao, and this strange village would have been turned into ashes. Zhou Fu snorted and didn't reply. Instead, he stretched out his arm and exposed his shoulder. There was a dark branch that broke through his skin and revealed itself. Now, if you want to live, tell me the method to absorb wood spirit energy and let me dissolve this thing. Then, I'll still have the strength to fight Zhang Yao. If you don't, then wait for death. Mu Yu pondered for a few seconds, then nodded bitterly. Fine. I'll tell you, but you have to swear that after you get the method, you're not allowed to come here again. Originally, Mu Yu wanted to say that he couldn't kill to obtain wood spirit energy, but when the words were about to come out of her mouth, she felt that it was unrealistic, so she changed her words at the last minute. This village was really dispensable to Zhou Fu. Even if he didn't come here, there were other places to obtain energy. He immediately agreed. Don't worry. After I'm done with Zhang Yao, I won't come even if you want me to. Humph, that's for the best. Mu Yu immediately gave the method to absorb wood spirit energy to Zhou Fu. After receiving the method, Zhou Fu immediately tried it. As he circulated his inner strength, the branches in his body trembled. Then, they slowly turned into green spots of light and merged into the nearby flesh and blood. So this is the real absorption. This wonderful feeling intoxicated Zhou Fu, who was on the battlefield. Mu Yu immediately noticed the changes in Zhou Fu's body. However, looking at Zhou Fu's expression, Mu Yu couldn't control the anger in her heart. She coldly said, "Be careful, don't get killed by Zhang Yao." Zhou Fu, who woke up from his intoxication, snorted. The golden light on his body suddenly converged. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Fu was like a man cast in gold. This method of yours, can you absorb and transform other spirit energy? Mu Yu was stunned for a moment, and her face became gloomy again. This bastard. He still hasn't escaped from the crisis in front of him, and he's already thinking of plundering other spirit energy. He's really greedy. I don't know. If you're not afraid of death, you can try. Oh, don't be so angry. Zhou Fu shook his head and said, I'm just asking, I don't have any other thoughts. In response to Zhou Fu's words, Mu Yu sneered a few times and turned her head away, ignoring him. Zhou Fu didn't ask for a snub and said, Okay, now that the energy in my body is no longer lost, it means that my strength is now equal to Zhang Yao's. Mu Yu heard this and suddenly turned her head. Her eyes widened in shock. His strength has increased so quickly. At this time, Mu Yu actually had a little regret, but she suppressed it. After all, her life is still important. Zhou Fu said, It's not early now, today's matter should be resolved. As his voice fell, Zhou Fu's figure suddenly disappeared in front of Mu Yu's eyes. Not far away, in front of Zhang Yao. Boom! A loud noise. A golden fist broke the branches in front of Zhang Yao. Another punch came, and in the midst of the wood chips, Zhang Yao's real body was revealed. Zhou Fu loosened his fist and tightly clasped Zhang Yao with 5 fingers. With a fierce pull, Zhang Yao was smashed to the ground. Then, he stepped on Zhang Yao and pressed him to the ground. No matter how Zhang Yao struggled, Zhou Fu's foot was like a small mountain, pressing down on Zhang Yao. Zhang Yao, we won't meet again in the future. As soon as the words came out, Zhou Fu didn't wait for Zhang Yao to reply. A golden flame rose from his fist and smashed down. Boom! Boom! Zhang Yao's real body has the body of a normal human. The difference is that a human's body is made of flesh and bones, while Zhang Yao's body is made of constantly moving branches. These branches are very tough. Previously, they blocked all of Zhou Fu's attacks, making Zhou Fu unable to do anything to the wood spirit. However, the current Zhou Fu is different. He removed the obstacles in his body and integrated the wood spirit, which strengthened his body to a certain extent. Coupled with his understanding of the martial codex, Zhou Fu's strength has once again reached a new level. Zhang Yao, it seems that these branches of yours can no longer protect you. After a dozen punches, the branches on Zhang Yao's chest have thinned by 10%. If Zhou Fu continues, after 100 punches, the wood spirit will be completely exposed. At that time, Zhang Yao will really die. Zhou Fu! Zhang Yao fiercely shouted, It's you again, bastard. Since you forced me to this point, then I'll let you see my true strength. Roar. Zhou Fu frowned and dodged. What the hell is this? After landing, Zhou Fu found that there are many black insects on his body. These things are constantly drilling into his body. Needless to say, these things can actually make Zhou Fu feel pain. It can be seen that their teeth are terrifying. Dead wood worm. Mu Yu saw the insects on Zhou Fu's body, and a horrifying memory came to her, causing her to shout out the name of the insects. Dead wood worm. Zhou Fu repeated as he circulated his great sun true qi. A burst of flames gushed out and burned the insects into ashes. Mu Yu turned to look at Zhang Yao and shouted in disbelief, "You're not a wood spirit, you're not one at all." Ha 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 ha. Zhang Yao laughed crazily and said, "When did I say that I'm a tree demon?" "So, you're an insect demon." Zhou Fu's words immediately suppressed Zhang Yao's laughter. Chapter 242. Zhou Fu. The mournful roar was filled with hatred. Zhou Fu's words were like a knife, fiercely stabbing into Zhang Yao's soul. The piercing pain made Zhang Yao go crazy. Insect demon. He actually dared to call him insect demon. This word was even harder for him to accept than tree demon. After all, Zhang Yao knew that he wasn't a tree demon. Subconsciously, he even thought of himself as a human, a special human, not a foreign race. But now, Zhou Fu actually exposed his heart's cover. This kind of pain made him want to tear Zhou Fu apart bit by bit. He wanted to make him suffer. He wanted to use extreme torture to deal with Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu, who was regarded as an irreconcilable enemy by Zhang Yao, as the wood's spiritual energy in his body was completely absorbed and transformed, a notification sounded in his mind. Ding! Active energy detected, absorbing. Zhou Fu's face suddenly changed and became gloomy. In his body, the energy that could nourish his body was rapidly disappearing. His body, however, did not feel comfortable at all. The support could actually absorb wood's spiritual energy. What is active energy? In the midst of the pain and confusion, Zhou Fu's wood's spiritual energy disappeared completely. Ding! Active energy absorption completed. Conditions met. Beginning upgrade. Upgrading. Zhou Fu could see a progress bar, which was rising little by little. Although he was angry, he was also looking forward to it. Looking forward to the new version of the support. What kind of changes would there be? Zhou Fu! A low voice came from Zhang Yao's mouth. From Zhou Fu's eyes, he knew that his opponent was distracted. Creak! The sound of wood being twisted came from Zhang Yao's mouth. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. Zhou Fu, even in this situation, you are still so arrogant. First, Zhou Fu opened the scar in his heart, exposing his identity as an insect demon. Then, he ignored him and dared to be distracted during the battle. This was a naked humiliation to him. Crunch! Crunch! Zhang Yao's body began to emit tiny noises, as if there were countless bugs gnawing on something. Mu Yu's expression changed greatly. She was terrified. Her body trembled as she shouted, "Insect! Worm!" A bug that could make Mu Yu feel fear was definitely not an ordinary bug. Zhou Fu rolled his eyes. Now that he had a way to deal with Zhang Yao, the most important thing for him was to help him level up. 50%, 70%, 90%. As the numbers kept jumping, Zhou Fu slowly became nervous. What would be different about this upgrade? Ding! A crisp voice rang out. Upgrade complete. The auxiliary interface in the void suddenly collapsed, emitting countless blue starlight. Spinning and fusing. A new interface appeared. Name: Zhou Fu Realm. First blood-changing realm experience. 56% martial arts. Wisdom King Scripture. Level 79 characteristics. Immovable Wisdom King Dharma, Demon Subduing, Wisdom. Immovable Wisdom King Physique, Unlocking, characteristics. Martial Arts Fusion 3 Wheels Returning Incarnation Divine Technique. Level 59 characteristics. Essence Transformation Adamantine Battle Body. Level 37 characteristics. Tenacity, Damage Resistance, Strength Enhancement Spring Wind and Rain, Nourishing. Technique. Level 79 Recovery and Enhancement Great Sun True Chi. Level Complete, Realm, Beginner. Characteristics. True Meaning of the Great Sun, Unlocking. Secret Art. Firefly. Internal Strength Control Foundation Establishment Technique. Greatly improves physique, strengthens bone structure, and slightly improves aptitude spiritual energy conversion. Incomplete absorbs would attribute spiritual energy and converts it into active energy. Mysterious item. Heart-refining voodoo worm. Characteristics: raging flame, splitting. Zhou Fu looked at the new interface and was a little confused. The biggest difference brought to Zhou Fu by this upgrade was the change in the interface. It looked better than before, and the user experience had improved a lot. The information of various martial arts was clearer, and there were even classifications. However, what made him a little uncomfortable was that there was an attribute called experience point. Didn't this mean that there was no way to casually level up in the future? Although he didn't casually level up before, it was different now. I can choose not to use it, but you can't do without it. And now, the support had taken away the initiative to level up, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. Experience points. Zhou Fu frowned. Where am I supposed to get this? There's also no explanation. Is the service industry so overbearing now? Just as he was feeling distressed, a cool energy emerged from his body, and the experience points on the support panel increased rapidly, reaching 100% in the blink of an eye. Just like that, it's full? The series of changes made Zhou Fu a little stunned, and then he thought, could the source of experience points be the so-called active energy, which is spiritual energy? Just as Zhou Fu was guessing, Mu Yu's panicked voice sounded, "Be careful." Zhou Fu raised his head and saw a sky full of small black dots flying over. Buzz 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 insects. A sky full of insects. Zhou Fu's pupils shrank, and his body trembled subconsciously. A layer of goosebumps appeared on his arms and back. Immediately, a burst of anger rose in his heart. There were still many things that he hadn't studied in the new version of the support system, and it was interrupted by Zhang Yao. "I won't go find you, and you're not happy about it, but you dare to attack me?" Zhou Fu punched out, and the air around his fist instantly burned. Squeak squeak. Amidst the screams of the insects, a burnt smell filled the air. After the attack, Zhou Fu looked at Zhang Yao coldly. At this time, Zhang Yao's appearance changed again. From a tree demon to a bugman. Black mucus was dripping from the corner of Zhang Yao's mouth. Zhou Fu punched out, and a flame smashed towards Zhang Yao. Squeak. Zhang Yao dodged to the side. Boom. Sparks flew everywhere. After Zhang Yao landed, he looked at the place where the flame fell. The place was charred black, and there was white smoke rising. He took a few steps to the side with fear. Most animals have a sense of fear towards fire. The insect that Zhang Yao fused with was also afraid of fire. "Look at you, if you were a tree demon, you might be able to cause some trouble for me. But you're not, you're just an insect demon." Zhou Fu sighed, shook his head and said, "Don't you know that I'm practicing the Great Sun True Qi?" Looking at Zhang Yao's confused eyes, he explained, "You might not know the origin of the Great Sun True Qi, but from the name, you should be able to tell that it's a fire attribute cultivation technique." The thick golden color on Zhou Fu's body began to fade, and at the same time, it emitted a scorching aura. After the upgrade of the support system, he found that his control of martial arts was much better. The Akala King physique, that had not been fully activated, now revealed the characteristic of fusion. With the help of this characteristic, the Akala King scripture and Great Sun True Qi were in perfect harmony, and a miraculous change occurred. An invisible flame enveloped Zhou Fu. Although the flame could not be seen, from the churning air around his body, one could guess how terrifying the temperature of the flame was. Zhi. Zhang Yao took a step back in fear, and at this moment, he wanted to escape. Want to run? Not so easy. Zhou Fu's figure flashed, and using his movement technique, he appeared in front of Zhang Yao and punched out. Whoosh! Before the fist arrived, the scorching aura made Zhang Yao restless, and a feeling of panic rose in his heart. He did not resist, and instead, he screamed and dodged. Bang! The flames exploded, and Zhang Yao screamed as he was sent flying. Although he tried his best to dodge, Zhou Fu's speed was too fast. His left shoulder was grazed by the fist, and his entire shoulder was ignited by the scorching hot inner strength. Hiss! After Zhang Yao landed, he quickly distanced himself from Zhou Fu. At the same time, the wound on his shoulder was flickering with a black light mixed with a green light. His spirit energy surged and extinguished the fire. Even so, the wound was still flowing with a black liquid. Roar! Zhang Yao arched his body, stretched his neck, opened his mouth, and let out an ear-piercing roar. In an instant, a large number of poisonous insects flew out from his body. Meaningless move. Zhou Fu sneered. No matter how many poisonous insects there were, it was useless. As long as his inner strength was not exhausted, the invisible flame of the great Sun True Qi was still there. Even if there were poisonous insects all over the sky, they were just moths to a flame. Just when Zhou Fu thought that the poisonous insects were about to fly up, the swarm of insects flew into the air. The buzzing sound of their wings was like mosquitoes on a summer night, and it made people feel annoyed. Looking up, the swarm of insects was like a gray fog. Buzz 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 buzz, what the hell is this? Zhou Fu couldn't understand it, but he paid attention to it. He punched out, and a scorching hot inner strength rushed up. The swarm of insects felt the attack, and quickly moved away, dodging it. Seeing that his attack missed, Zhou Fu frowned. Forget it, I don't care. As long as I kill Zhang Yao, today's matter can be considered over. After releasing the swarm of insects, Zhang Yao seemed to be very weak. He shook his body and supported himself on the ground with a deformed but very long arm. Seeing Zhou Fu turn his head, Zhang Yao smiled sinisterly and said provocatively, "Come, kill me!" Bang! Before Zhang Yao could finish his words, Zhou Fu executed his movement technique, and the ground beneath his feet suddenly exploded under the immense force. Leaving an illusory afterimage in the air, Zhou Fu came to Zhang Yao's side in a blink of an eye, and punched out with a pale golden fist. Bang! The fist landed on Zhang Yao's back. The fierce fist instantly blasted a big hole in Zhang Yao's back, and the heat emitted by the inner strength ignited the wound. Roar! The intense pain stimulated Zhang Yao to tremble, and he let out a painful roar. His head turned half a circle, and his black eyes stared at Zhou Fu, and his gloomy voice revealed a hint of cruelty. "Zhou Fu, if you want to kill me, it won't be that easy." With a bang, Zhang Yao's body suddenly exploded. Black liquid splashed all over the sky, and two black vines stretched out from the broken body, imprisoning Zhou Fu in place. Buzz 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 buzz. As the swarm of insects approached, a large amount of gray fog floated down. Buzz 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 buzz. After the bricks on the ground came in contact with the fog, they let out a sizzling sound and white smoke rose. The fog was poisonous. Chapter 243. Under the cover of the fog, the flames on Zhou Fu's body were constantly flickering. The internal strength that was maintaining the invisible flames in his body was being consumed at a rapid rate. Zhou Fu's face suddenly changed. He did not expect Zhang Yao to have such means. He roared, "Open!" His arms exerted force, and the vines creaked as if they would break in the next second. However, the vines were very tenacious and did not break. "Jie jie jie jie. Zhou Fu. Just wait for your death." Zhang Yao's voice came from the swarm. It contained the joy of revenge. Hearing Zhang Yao's ridicule, Zhou Fu raised his head. His eyes flashed with a golden red light, but his expression was very calm. He said, "You want me to die? With your little tricks, it's not enough to scratch my itch." His arms no longer struggled, allowing the vines to wrap around him. Red dots of light floated out of Zhou Fu's body and fell on the vines. More and more light spots appeared, and the two vines looked like they were made of rubies. They were even shining brightly. Although Zhang Yao was surprised, he was very confident in the vines he created. After all, it was made by fusing more than half of his strength. At the same time, it was also resistant to fire. However, as soon as his voice fell, he shouted in horror, "What the hell is this? The two vines were constantly being eroded by the red dots of light. Like icicles under high temperature, they were melting at a speed visible to the naked eye. Muyu, who was on the side, saw Zhou Fu being tied up and became anxious. However, when she saw the red dots, she was stunned for a moment. She sighed in her heart that Zhou Fu had many tricks up his sleeve. However, after a while, she sensed a trace of aura from the red dots. It was an aura that made her soul tremble. What the hell is this? Muyu's body helped her to react. She struggled to move in the opposite direction of Zhou Fu. Rustle, 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 fine and dense sounds came from the vines. It was like a room where silkworms were raised. Countless baskets were filled with mulberry leaves, and white and tender silkworms were eating. What the hell is this? Zhang Yao controlled the swarm to fly away from Zhou Fu. It was too terrifying. The vines that he had spent so much effort on were gone in the blink of an eye. Moreover, the information transmitted from the vine made him feel terrified. That was a natural pressure. It was like an ordinary animal seeing a tiger or leopard. He wanted to run. The swarm of insects quickly disappeared into the night sky with the small green tree. Zhou Fu looked at the departing Zhang Yao and asked, "Muyu, didn't you say that as long as someone is marked, they can't leave the village?" Turning his head, he was shocked to find Muyu looking at him with a terrified expression. She was still moving away. Hearing Zhou Fu's question, Muyu stopped and replied with a trembling voice, "Yes, yes, he can't leave. Don't come any closer." Seeing Zhou Fu walking over, Muyu hurriedly stopped him. You can't hurt me. Don't come over." Zhou Fu frowned and looked at the red dot floating beside him. Could it be that Muyu was also afraid of this thing? That's not right. These red dots were the heart-refining voodoo worms. They were voodoo worms. Why was Muyu, a tree demon, so afraid of this thing? Could it be that the heart-refining voodoo worms also gnawed on tree bark? Although he didn't understand, was this thing's recipe really so strange? Zhou Fu stopped. He turned his head and looked at the place where Zhang Yao escaped. A large amount of energy came from under his feet and poured into his body. With a thought, he called out the support panel. On the experience bar, the value had exceeded 100%, 105%, 110. It was still increasing. Should he level up and feel the new function? There were some things that he didn't want to be fine. But as long as he thought about it, that inexplicable impulse would become stronger and stronger until he couldn't control it. Level up, this was a battlefield. Zhang Yao, who had escaped, would come back at some point. According to past experience, his body would feel some discomfort when his cultivation level increased. If he was unlucky, he might even be beaten up by Zhang Yao. No, the thought had already arisen. His heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. After struggling for a while, more and more power poured into his feet. On the support panel, the experience value jumped more and more. Zhou Fu gritted his teeth. Level up. Ding. Realm increased. Current second level of blood transformation. A stream of heat emerged, making Zhou Fu feel like he was soaking in a hot spring. His heart was beating very strongly, pounding against his chest. The blood flowing in his body was getting hotter and hotter. It spread to the meridians, muscles, and bones all over his body, and he felt pain. Huff, Zhou Fu exhaled, and his eyes slowly became dull. A layer of sweat appeared on his forehead. This feeling, it's like I'm melting. His nostrils were hot, and Zhou Fu subconsciously wiped it with his hand. At a glance, it was black and red. Blood? Nosebleed? Zhou Fu was stunned. He didn't expect that he would have a nosebleed one day. Suddenly, he felt his chest suddenly blocked, as if he had drunk too much wine, and his stomach was churning. Vomit. Splash. A pool of black stuff was spat out from his mouth. There was an old saying, out of sight, out of mind. On the other hand, some things, as soon as you see them, your heart will feel polluted. Vomit. This time, it was Zhou Fu who took the initiative. Seeing the black filth, A feeling of nausea covered his heart. On the other side, Mu Yu was dumbfounded, and a great doubt arose in her heart. What's going on? I just didn't let you come over, why did you vomit? After vomiting for a while, Zhou Fu straightened up with difficulty and looked up at the sky. At this time, his heart was much clearer. At this moment, it was as if a cool breeze blew through his body. The pores all over his body opened up. A large amount of gray filth seeped out through the pores. In the blink of an eye, it was enveloped by the invisible flame of Zhou Fu and burned to ashes. Transparent, refreshing, and full of power in his body. He opened the attribute panel. Name: Zhou Fu Realm. Second level of blood transformation experience. 14% after successfully leveling up. Zhou Fu waved his hand, and blazing internal strength gushed out, burning the filth on the ground in front of him to ashes. Moreover, it also blew away the unpleasant smell in the surrounding air. Zhou Fu! Mu Yu's voice came. You'd better go after Zhang Yao now. As long as you kill him, the matter between us will be over. Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows. He felt very good now. The power kept coming from under his feet, indicating that Zhang Yao was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Perhaps, if he waited for a while, Zhang Yao would die, saving him the effort. After all, if he could sit, he wouldn't stand, and if he could lie down, he wouldn't sit. What's the hurry? Didn't you say that neither of us can escape from this village, and that the formation under our feet can continue to weaken the other side until the weaker side dies? Wait a while more, I can feel that Zhang Yao is about to die. Mu Yu's face darkened. I'm about to die too. Zhang Yao has been devouring my wood spirit. Zhou Fu shrugged, thinking to himself, isn't this good? The one who benefits in the end is me, so I definitely won't be in a hurry. From Zhou Fu's actions and the expression on his face, Mu Yu instantly understood what he was thinking. She cursed inwardly, then said, as long as I die, this formation will also break. At that time, Zhang Yao will be able to escape. I can tell you with certainty that as long as Zhang Yao enters the forest, even our wood spirit race will find it difficult to find him. If it were you, haha, would you be able to find a single seed in the grass? She was right, he wouldn't be able to find it. But, so what if he found it? Tonight, Zhou Fu had obtained enough benefits, so much so that he would laugh in his sleep. Thus, Zhang Yao's life or death didn't matter to him. Seeing Zhou Fu's indifference, Mu Yu's teeth itched with hatred. Although she hated him, there was nothing she could do. Weighing the pros and cons in her heart, Mu Yu said, if you can kill Zhang Yao and return my wood spirit, then leave and never come back. I will teach you the method to absorb spiritual energy. It is suitable for all kinds of spiritual energy. This time, Zhou Fu was tempted. To be able to absorb all kinds of spiritual energy. Good stuff. He had to get it. Looking at Mu Yu, Zhou Fu said with a smile that wasn't a smile, you have quite a few good things in your hands. It's just a few more years of life. No matter how many good things I have, they will all be taken by you. Of course, Zhou Fu didn't believe her words. However, looking at her expression, if he continued to force her, who knew what kind of trouble she would cause? After all, the two of them weren't mortal enemies. If he didn't have the determination to kill her, it was best to leave her with some leeway. Perhaps they would meet again in the future. Alright, you can wait here for my news. After saying this, Zhou Fu used his movement technique and flew towards the place he sensed. After flying for a while, Zhou Fu found Zhang Yao. At the edge of the village, near the forest, a group of gray insects was colliding with a green light barrier. Every time they collided, a green flame would burst out between the light barrier and the insects. In the air, there was a burnt smell. Zhou Fu. Zhang Yao heard the commotion and turned to see Zhou Fu rushing over. Zhang Yao. Zhou Fu sighed. To be honest, when he was about to kill Zhang Yao, he suddenly felt that he should thank him. After all, everything he got tonight was thanks to him. To be honest, Zhou Fu looked at him and said, I really have to thank you for tonight. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have improved so quickly. Of course, the improvement of cultivation is secondary. The most important thing is, forget it, you won't understand even if I tell you. In order to thank you, I will act quickly. I won't let you feel any pain. Zhang Yao gritted his teeth and said, Then I have to thank you. No need, no need. This is what I should do. Zhou Fu shook his head and a large amount of red light flew out. Not only were there heart-refining goo worms, there was also some great sun true qi. Have a safe journey. Boom! In an instant, flames lit up the sky.